Okay.
You are live on twitch.tv. You cannot talk about this right
shit.
now. Fuck! You ruined it.
I ruined it.
What did you run? I'm confused.
I don't know.
Our chance at finally having
a sponsorship.
A sponsorship, a podcast that can finally be rated family friendly on Spotify.
12 years of Polly, not swearing, just down the drain.
Just completely fucked. God damn it! No! Fuck! Shit! It keeps happening now. It's like this wellspring that just keeps ejaculating from my mouth.
Whoa!
Every episode starts like this.
Yeah, I think that's like the surest thing that things are like right. Like back to normal. Back to normal. We're good.
Yep.
We are right next door to hell. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Hot girl summer.
Yep.
When did we last podcast? I need to know because I'm looking at my
June 6th.
June 6th?
Yep.
Wowzers.
And to think, we were about to wait until at least August 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
But then I said, fuck it! Who cares if I sound weird?
You don't sound weird.
Oh my god, the last thing I talked about was Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
I know. I figured it out. I was still talking about Trails of Zero when...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I even specifically remember where I was because I was like talking about all the fan service.
Mm-hmm. I was still playing Trails from Zero when we last podcast.
God damn it!
I think John
is just
finally
setting
checked
ships
out.
on fire.
He's finally checked out.
These ships are not sailing; they are underwater.
It's over.
The dream does not continue.
Nope. Like John's just like, you know what? Third's good enough for me.
That's so sad. That's so sad to even consider.
It's fun. It's funny that it feels like every week I'm seeing one new person on my timeline be like, "Yep, okay, finally finished the 9th game of the 9-game series now in under 8 months." Like, Jesus Christ, man! The passion and the way that people just fucking rip through these games right now
is not something John has.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
I'm being moved by other stories, I think.
Other things spark joy.
Other things are sparking joy at the moment. I'll get back to it. I see between every big thing I jump into, I play like one evening of Trails from Zero, and then I DM you all like, this is cute, this is so good, I love this. Mm-hmm. And then I go back to some new thing.
I don't think that happened last time, because the last 9th of July was the last time you said anything about it. That was a week and a half ago, I guess.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Actually, wait, no.
Uh-oh.
It was 5th of July, because I was the one making a joke on the 9th of July.
Okay, yep.
So it's a little closer to 2 weeks now.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
It's so funny, because that game, I tore through Zero and, threw other stuff into the I'll get back to it later garbage bin to make way for it.
Nope, I've been the inverse. It's been a good time though. That's the
thing. You're always just like, I like it. I'm just not going to get back to it.
Yeah, someday. It's good. I like it.
It's good.
You see, there's a difference in tone. The way that you sell it, it can be like, it's good, or it's good.
Yeah, cool. I agree. It was my game of the year, so.
Yeah, if your intonation is up, you're pretty positive on it, I have to think. Yeah. But if it goes down,
Right, I think he did the down, though.
It's good. No, he went. It's good.
It's really good. Just like Shovel Knight Plague of Shadows. It's so good, y'all.
Cool. I'm going to remove John Thayer from this podcast now.
Since we took the break, this is Sockscast season 2, and we're trying out some new hosts.
Yeah,
this time.
Yeah, we are definitely in the market for.
It looks like Beepner's available to hop on in.
Beepner is always ready. He's always got plenty. He can tell us all about Quake 2.
We got good stuff. I've still got stuff y'all only want to hear about. It's just not gonna be Trails.
Ever again.
Ever again.
So welcome one, welcome all. We're back a little early.
Mm-hmm.
We were originally going to do this in August, late August. But I said to hell with that. If I sound weird, that's your problem. Welcome to episode 40, 140. I've already forgotten how to count. Listen, podcasting is hard. Those training wheels got to go back on. We got to get the script back out and read it note for note. I don't remember how to do any of this shit. It's been 8 weeks or something since we did one of these. So, or is it 6? It's 6 weeks. Somewhere around there. But yeah, this is episode 140. We are back doing things, I suppose, the way we usually do. I mean, seeing as that this stream started with a dick joke, I think that just kind of proves that we haven't lost a single step in any of the downtime. We got good dick content for our lovely listeners at home. Believe me, none of that has changed for season 2. Where there's going to be so much dick. All the dick. Just dick. Every other word is just going to be dick now. Just dick. And then I went to the dick mall. They have dicks there.
Me and my friend Dick.
Me and my friend Dick went to the dick mall.
So I could suck his dick.
So I could suck his dick. Right.
No, we were shopping for Dick in the Dick aisle.
Right.
At Dick's.
I forgot because
there it is.
I forgot to get.
That's an actual store.
Yeah, Dick.
I know. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Okay.
I hope all the subliminal sponsorships aren't obvious. So welcome one, welcome all. We do this thing. I don't know. I think this one's probably going to end up running a little long, seeing as we've been away for a while. So let's not dilly-dally too much, shall we? To my immediate virtual right, he lost his mind today. He left it out back on the highway. It's Rhett!
Dicks.
How's it
Sponsored
going?
by.
Sponsored by.
It's going good.
It's going good. We are gradually feeling this whole experience out again, learning how to podcast again. I think we're kind of kicking the rust off, though. We're doing okay. How are you?
Yeah. Doing good.
Doing good.
Just fine. Just
absolutely lovely. Couldn't ask for a better Sunday to be recording an episode of this podcast with your best friends in the entire world.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
There you go. Good vibes here. To my immediate
that's another good intonation moment because you can feel depending on how you say that.
Yeah, depending on how you say that, it could go real weird. Great, another Sunday recording a podcast with my best friends.
I think that was a sincere moment. I think you're being
I think it was too.
Oh, it absolutely was. Absolutely was. To my immediate virtual left, you'll be sucking down the Clorox till your life's all nice and crisp. It's John Byer.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm doing really well.
You're doing really well. You got so much going on right now. You have so many. You got so many plates in the air. You got shades on because the future's way too bright. Just absolutely unbelievable.
I dashed home from somewhere else to get here.
Oh my!
I was waiting for the elevator at 4:45 Central, just at 4:40 Central. All right, come on. 2 of them were out, so I was like, come on. Oh, I have a podcast to get to.
Yes. People need to, I think, understand how important it is that you get home and do a podcast, lest one of your podcast hosts gets very angry. Yeah, that's definitely something that more people need to be aware of in your life, so that they hold you up less.
That was extremely a joke. Anybody listening?
Yes, it was extremely a joke. Intonation.
Yep.
So who wants to get things started? I know, John, you've got so much shit going on. Do you want to start this thing off at the top and kind of explain what you got coming up here? Because
yeah.
All right, so John, promo time. Shill us real hard on all your bullshit.
I feel like you can sort of neatly subdivide my arcs into 2 or 3 things, depending on how much we want to talk about. With one of them just being my arcade deep dive, which has just been going on for literally a month.
Okay. Yeah, that one's been a while.
That's been my happy place. It feels like the new Castlevania.
I think it's a happier place because I think that, like, when you get to
there's more variety.
When you get to those Igavanias, shit starts getting real fucking boring.
I was gonna say real dark. That's when you know you're in a bad place.
Obviously, the Igavania thing came from a dark place, but I also think that, like, the method of entertainment you chose was really dire.
But I had a much better time now.
Good.
So, God, I don't even remember how it started. It's been a fucking month.
Gradius 2?
No, because I think it started with Mushihime-sama.
That's where
that one back up on a whim.
Yeah, you picked that one back up. I think it was shortly after our last podcast, and I remember you deep diving into that.
Because I played a bunch of it earlier in the year, around when I was playing, around when I got Hellsinker and Eschatos and a bunch of other rad shmups on Steam. And this is my first cave game I've kind of played intensely. I think like 10 years ago when I first did a bunch of MAME stuff, I played a good chunk of Dodonpachi, but never like super competently. Like I was never, and I was never even like coming close to the 1-credit stuff. I was still kind of in quarter feed mode.
Are you telling me you're not a Dodonpachi super player? Why are you even on the shmup forums then? It's literally the only game they know how to talk about there.
That's not true, Polly. They also like Dodonpachi Daioju.
Right.
And Dodonpachi Resurrection, which I played like 90 minutes of, and was like, I don't like this, actually.
Yeah.
No. But, so I played Mushihime-sama, and I played a bunch of that earlier in the year and learned the first 4 stages. There's 5 stages. Polly did fight Hibachi on stream last night. And I just kind of picked this game back up, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm closer than maybe let's play some more of this. Just like, I'm going to keep pecking at this over the next year, and then I'm going to beat it. And instead, over like a week, I just played a bunch of Mushihime-sama, and I was getting better and better at it's literally like 1 and 2 are easy, so there's 3 stages. And all of those stages have really hard parts where it's... I think I talked about Mushihime-sama the first time on the podcast, where I was like, okay, so this is like when you play a Toho or when you play a classic game, there's a lot more like I want to say like dodging, but just more a lot of like reactive play. But when you get deep into Mushi, you're very concerned with like, you're not just dodging bullets. You are targeting enemies in specific ways so that you can sculpt and moving to sculpt the streaming patterns in ways that are manageable.
Yeah.
Like
it's a lot of aim shots that are coming in gigantic hordes that you are just basically manipulating by being aggressive with your play.
Yeah. It honestly like feels more slow paced in a lot of ways. Where kind of slow paced and methodical, where it's just like all these bullets are coming really fast, but the game is manipulating them. It's not just, oh, here's a big spray of bullet vomit, dodge it. Like, that's almost never the deal. It's almost always manipulate things.
Yeah.
And once I kind of cracked that, I was like, oh, okay, this is a different feel. I kind of dig this. I'm liking the vibe here. And I just played a big chunk of it, and then I just got through the whole thing in one credit, and it felt really good.
Nice.
And that was my first cave clear. Also my first clear from not the 1980s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like for some reason I mean all of my clears were Konami shmups on that arcade collection.
Yeah, because that's what you had at the time.
It's what I had, but it just resonated with me. Like, I just liked the language of Gradius and Light Force and Twinbee. I had fun learning those games because I grew up with horizontal shooters.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up with Blazon, and then when I was trying to find Blazon on the Wii Virtual Console as a kid, I found R-Type 3 and was like, is this Blazon? And then I downloaded it and was like, this isn't Blazon.
That's not Blazon. No.
And then I played R-Type 3 to death, and I was like, this might be better than Blazon. Somehow.
Somehow could it possibly be?
And then I found R-Type and played that to death on arcade and never beat it, but like I learned a lot of it, and it was really fun and satisfying. So those were formative games for me.
Yeah.
But Mushi feels different from Toho, because that was the other formative game. I played a bunch of Hori console games, and I played a bunch of Toho as a kid. And Mushi feels different from that. It's there's very little. The bosses are short, which I wound up really liking because the stages are so hard.
Well, yeah.
Because the stages are about manipulating those enemies, and then the bosses are just like blasts of hard patterns. They go on for like a minute and a half, and then it's over, or if that. The meat of the game are the stages, which is very cool and different for me. So I just had a ton of fun learning this. I absolutely loved it. All in all, like, I think it's just a great fucking game, and I felt like it was a pretty gentle entry level entry into this kind of shmup. Just playing Mushi on original. There's 3 difficulty levels.
Yeah.
The second is Maniac, which is more slower bullets, so probably like it's a little harder and more curtain fiery. And then Ultra, which is just like the second loop, which is the one for weirdo super players.
Yeah.
So, props to you. But the ones that are like, oh yeah, we took 10 years to figure out how to beat the last boss without dying. Like, that's the difficult, like, between everyone in the world or everyone in the country.
Yeah.
So I had just a ton of fun with that. While I was at it, I cleared Refrain Prism Memories, which is just like a short, it's a 5-stage Dojin shmup. It reminded me a lot of Hellsinker, but it's a lot shorter.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where the gist of it is you have bombs that respawn and you're not penalized for using them. You basically have a hyper that the game wants you to use, and the game is balanced around you using it. So it's one of those like brain melty shmups, like anything like Reflex or Mars Matrix or anything where like you have a way around to just destroy bullets, basically.
Yeah, like Gray's Counter is a similar kind of thing where you can literally just eat most of the bullets on screen, but, like the game sort of plays around with that idea, and that, like, you're still always in danger, but you have these really cool abilities, so... Yeah, I like
Great Fairy Wars.
Yeah, I like shmups like that, where there's a cool gimmick to you having a lot of power, but it's also very, very fragile.
And the vibe, like I said, reminded me a lot of Hellsinker, which is great because that's one of my favorite shmups ever now. I think my criticism with Refrain, it's pretty well regarded as I understand it.
Yeah.
But for me, the issue was it's a 5-stage shmup, and it doesn't feel like it really starts pushing you until stage 4.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And like that's like one stage too late.
Yeah.
And then the last stage, about half of the first phase of the final boss, is just like a long like a 3 or 4 minute series of like static patterns that don't really involve the hyper at all.
Oh.
So it doesn't feel like it's really pushing the core language that's interesting about the game.
Yeah.
And then the last boss is really cool. But then stage 5 is short leading up to the boss. So it's just like stage 4 is really good. Parts of stage 5 are really good, but it feels a little too slight, I guess, for me. It felt like either it could have just been a smaller game and kind of owned that more, or because it is like 25 to 30 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it like that. It doesn't feel like it earns that length necessarily. So that was my takeaway. It's a pretty simple, gentle clear. I still like it, but it just kind of feels like the Great Fairy Wars version of Hellsinker, but like worse than that, because it's like because that would be very good.
Yeah,
it's not quite. But I think playing this one on the higher difficulties would be fun, but it doesn't really have a training mode, so that makes that sound kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then while I was on a big long trip, I just was like, pulled out my Switch and I played a shit ton of Gradius 2.
Yeah! I love this video game.
I forgot how much Polly loved this game.
Yeah, it really rules, actually. It was very fun talking to you about Gradius, and then you were like, oh yeah, I mean, there's some Gradius games I like. And you listed like, I like 1 and 2, and I like Life Force, I like 5, Gaiden, 4. And then you just went through
Rebirth.
and then you went through the weird ones like Rebirth and Galaxies, and then the Game Boy ones.
Like, wait a minute, I guess I like this series a little more than I thought I did.
Seems like you just really like Gradius, Polly.
Despite the fact that I think it's one of the most infuriating series ever.
So I played this like I played Gradius 1 and Life Force, which is just like, okay, I'm just going for the no miss. I'm just going for the 1 life clear. Here's my read on classic shmups, where they take away a bunch of your power-ups when you die. And this is how someone explained it to me that made things make sense to me, was like going for the no miss 1 loop clear is sort of like the entry into the game. Like that is the first step. And then like high level play is you want to do a bunch of loops.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a bunch of loops, you're almost always going to just glance a bullet. You're going to die.
Yeah.
And that's so for the high level play, you're learning the recovery strategies for each checkpoint.
Yeah.
Which is much, much harder than just clearing the levels without dying. So that is the purpose of having lives at all, basically, because it was like aesthetically I didn't really understand it, is like this is the next level of play, is being able to recover from a checkpoint.
Yeah.
So I'm not engaging with that because it's infuriating.
Yeah, that's way too much.
Yeah, it's too much. It's not what I'm interested in right now, which is just having a very strict but classic style shmup. And the thing with like something like Mushihime-sama is just like it's so much constantly that you're not really like trying to avoid ever making a mistake. It's that you're trying to minimize your risk at any given time.
Yeah.
So I'm always going, and then so by bombing by knowing when you should bomb, and then manipulating the patterns, and then dodging as best as you can when you need to. So you're just gonna die sometimes, and that's fine. And then some players go for the 1 life clear. Cool. Gradius is moment to moment. There's almost nothing that is as strict as, or hard, or demanding, or feeling like RNG, I guess. I don't know. As like stuff in Mushihime-sama, and then it pays, and then the difference is that if you die, then you're fucked.
Yeah.
So it's a different. I just kind of look at it as a different style of play. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna learn these stages. They're very learnable. They're very classic in that sense, where it's just like you can figure out where to be to avoid most of these attacks. And then there's going to be a couple parts that are hard.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot safe spots on basically all the bosses that you can learn.
Like, enemy behaviors are relatively simple and easy to discern, and kind of like, okay, I know what I need to do here.
Yeah. like it was like the second, maybe like the second time I got past stage 4, I think, in a clear, I beat the whole game. Like, yeah. I beat the game the first time I got to stage 8, because even though stage 8 is really hard, if you just sit there with a save at the start of the stage and learn it, you've learned it.
Yeah.
Which is also Hellsinker, which is a lot of games I like, because it's easier.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could even argue that, like, Zero Ranger has a similar kind of, get to it, die, and then get back there again, because you're just kind of learning the game as you go.
Yeah. Like, Zero Ranger feels a lot more like those sort of older shmups than like a modern bullet hell, because it is about just you learn the game the way you would like a Contra or Mega Man. Like, it's very familiar and easy for me to understand. It's just a lot harder than a lot of those games. And then it's just really fucking fun. It's just extremely creative. The set pieces in Gradius 2 go so goddamn hard.
Yes!
Like, the whole back half of the game is just like high speed section, boss rush, calling back to previous games, and then stage 8 is like 2 stages long. It has a big boss fight in the middle of it. And it's even longer in the NES version. I found out they added an extra section.
Yeah, they added some stuff. Yeah.
I think, looking at that LP, I think that's because they removed maybe the speed section. Like, it seemed like something was removed to make up for stage 8 or stage 9, I guess. There being a little thing after the walker.
Cool.
But the music slaps, so that's cool.
Yes.
But yeah, I loved learning Gradius. I loved learning Life Force. I loved learning this. These are just, I think it kind of does come down to them feeling a little bit easier and more learnable moment to moment. They're just a lot stricter.
Yeah.
So there's sort of just a clarity to it, where I'm not just like moment to like worrying so much about resource management or, oh god, I messed up 5 times leading up to this level. Am I going to have enough resources left over to clear the final boss? It's just like, just do it. Just do the game.
Yeah.
Just do the game. Don't die.
Easy.
Yeah. Easy. And if you try to do that with a game like Mushihime-sama or Toho or whatnot, it is monstrously difficult relative to Gradius. So I loved it. I really connected with it. I've got 2 more arcade games. Are you okay if I just slam through them?
Go ahead and slam on through them.
Yeah.
I got the Capcom arcade collection, which is dope as hell. And it's really good.
Expensive.
It is expensive. It comes with 32 games that are just lovingly animated. You have rewind and multiple save slots, a bunch of cool stuff. I'm really in love with it. I think it's a dope collection. I didn't have any issues with how they felt to play.
Nice.
I'm no wizard on input lag stuff or anything, but it just from my layperson perspective, it felt nice. I played a bunch of 19XX, but I think I needed a shmup break because that game's also pretty hard.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And I learned the original Strider.
Ooh man, that game's a wild one.
That is accurate. I think that is an accurate summation of Strider.
Yeah, I don't know, like that game is like back then it was like unlike anything you'd ever played before, just because of the way that gravity works in that game is wild. And even now, going back and playing it, you can sort of see how it's kind of held together with like duct tape and glue and a little bit of spit. And like, how does this thing work? How does it work at all?
I had a lot of actual like glitches playing Strider, which I didn't have with any of these other games. Like, I got to the top of stage 2 to triggered the thing flying, and then I went back down to get the one up. And then the ships were like flying in the middle of the stage, and it's really goofy. I got stuck outside the stage barrier. I broke a lot of. There are a lot of little things that are broken in it, and it made it pretty frustrating to play intensely.
Yeah. I recently watched Rock 617 try to 1cc that game, and yeah, he ran into some of that and a lot of just the overall jankiness of how some things in that game work/don't work.
Yeah. It was very much like I was saying about the other games where it feels a little mushier in the sense, not mushier, but just mushier in the sense of like you're just getting to that last stage with 4 or 5 lives and hoping for the best.
And just banging your face into it, yeah.
Yeah, like I just did that enough times where I was like, this isn't completely satisfying, especially coming off of Gradius. But the set piece design is so gorgeous.
Oh yeah. I think nearly every part of every stage in that game really just stands out and is identifiable.
Every part of it feels like unique and handcrafted.
Yeah.
It's like every single interaction you have in that game is a handcrafted action set piece, as opposed to like we thought up. Whereas, like, the normal way you think of making a game is like, okay, we made it so the character can jump around and slash a sword. Now let's make, like 5 enemy types and some tiles, and then build a level around that. And then we'll have it gradually escalate in complexity and da-da-da-da-da. Gamer Goes Toolkit, whatever. And you get to, and then that kind of, like, game design stuff. This is just, like, we are going to make every single piece of this interesting and joyful and varied and exciting.
Yeah.
And is those things the entire time you're playing it.
Yeah.
Stage 2 is just mind-blowing. Like the set pieces you run through in stage 2 alone are just like a whole, like any number of lesser action games would have fewer cool ideas than Strider has in stage 2 of 5.
Yeah.
And then there's stage 4, which is just bizarre though. That's like the dinosaur level.
Yeah, that
comes
was like
out of nowhere.
What happened here?
It's like half as long as all the other stages.
Yeah, it's very
really
clear.
weird.
It's very clearly we had this idea, we couldn't quite land it, and we didn't have time to finish it. But if we but if we leave it out, we've only got 4 stages. So
it's very funny. But yeah, then the climax is buck wild. It does boss refight in a really cool way where they're all recontextualized. I like that you fight the first boss again, but you're not fighting it, you're riding it up to fight the final boss. It really, fucking rules.
It's so cool.
While the final boss taunts you with text in the background.
Yeah.
Like this was 1988. Like that's wild.
It was a very, very forward-thinking game in a lot of ways.
It feels like a proto-Kamiya game. Like
oh
in a lot
god,
of
yeah, for sure.
Like
yeah.
It felt a little bit like Another World, where but like as an arcade game, where it's just like constant moment to moment action set piece design.
Yeah.
This was an arcade action game from the 80s that I enjoyed, not so much because I enjoyed learning it as an action game, because its storytelling was constantly inventive and entrancing.
Yeah, and for that to be a thing in 1988 in an action game, you weren't getting that kind of moment to moment storytelling in action games yet. So it's very forward thinking.
Yeah, it's jaw dropping. I'm really impressed with it. It's not one I see myself upping playing the higher difficulties or whatnot, but it's gorgeous, and I can see wanting to revisit some of the successors.
Yeah.
Which are all it's very uncomplicated, right? Is what the follow-ups to Strider are. It's probably just Strider 1, Strider 2, Strider 3, Strider 4, right?
Just play Strider 2 on any.
Which one? That is not. What were you gonna say, Polly?
Well, I was gonna say just play Strider 1 on PlayStation.
Okay.
Just do that. Don't play Strider 2014. It's trash. Despite what anybody will tell you, it's trash ass fucking explory platformer where literally everything you get is a key for a door.
Awesome. And then the day after I beat Strider, I woke up that morning, I'm going to play Trails Zero. And then I loaded up MAME. I downloaded MAME, and then I downloaded R-Type.
That's where you find the Trails games. You download MAME.
Yeah.
And then like 6 or 7 hours later, with a hot, nice long hot bath in the middle and some other nice relaxation moments, I had cleared R-Type in one life.
Man, like R-Type is one of those. Yep, that is a hard one to do.
It is like Gradius and Gradius 2, except
every moment
I think it's stricter.
Is perilous and dangerous.
Yeah, except it's just scary. It just goes, man.
That is kind of
it's
always
constant.
That has always been the thing with R-Type, and I think it's the reason I don't gel with that series quite as much, is that there is not a moment in that series where every single pixel on that screen isn't a fucking danger zone. Like, it is constant, it is stressful, it's a little much for what I want in a shmup, personally.
It feels meaner than Gradius.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It feels, I think, a little more evocative than Gradius.
Maybe, yeah.
I think Gradius is more like... Gradius feels like joyful video game the whole time. It's just like, we are making a shooting game. We are making the platonic ideal of a horizontal shooting game, and we are loving it. They're throwing some fucking Easter Island heads. Who cares? This is great. Throw in more references to the past games. I don't know. And then R-Type is just like, all right, and here's... It's very like... It feels more oppressive with its ambience and its atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that only gets more pronounced as the series progresses until Final is just like an hour long and really slow and just like constantly pelting you with this is scary and oppressive and dreary. Versus Gradius 5 just being treasure like, now you can spin your options all around.
Look, man, those lasers look tasty. I would eat them.
They look real fucking good. So I think as a kid I was way more into R-Type because I was like, this is art video game. This is very sophisticated for my sophisticated grown-up palate.
As a kid, I liked R-Type because Stage 3 has the big ship. Blow up all the little parts.
The big battleship, yeah.
R-Type has a big battleship level. Batsugun, which I'm playing now, has a big battleship level. Mushihime-sama has a really good Stage 3 big battleship level.
Nice.
Yeah,
it rules.
It's one of the tropes of the genre that it's just like, it's usually always pretty cool.
Yep, and I feel like R-Types was sort of the archetypal version of that.
It's where that got started, I believe, yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, shmups, because of that stage, were always less about precise dodging and learning the stages and just blowing shit up. That's the part I liked.
Yeah.
I still feel like R-Type is very... it's mean, and it's, I think, harder than Gradius, although Gradius 2 is a lot longer than R-Type.
Yeah.
R-Type 1 is still like a punchy 20 minutes. It's 8 stages that go by quick. And I think like the second time I reached Stage 5 on a clear attempt, I just went straight through the end. It was fine.
Nice.
Like even Stage 6 and 7, which are so mean and dense, and Stage 6 especially just feels like, okay, this is the one where you have to memorize where all these blocks are gonna go.
Yeah.
Kind of like I remember Rhett complaining about Stage 4 and R-Type 3 being just that.
Yep.
Yeah,
there's one of those in R-Type 1.
I don't think I ever got that far on the TurboGrafx as a kid.
But then I just got through to the end, and then there's a dope moment at the end where the boss opens its gaping maw and you fire your force into it, and then it closes its mouth on the force, and you have to dodge while the boss is taking damage from your force. And it rules. It's dope as hell.
It's a really cool set piece,
which is why they do it in all the other ones.
Oh.
I fucking love R-Type. I think it was very inspiring to me personally. I think you can see its DNA and stuff like Kikai and whatnot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like I have and it feels good to literally, like, I played it to death 10 years ago. I played it again to death 5 years ago. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat it in one life this time. I'm gonna do it. And I didn't.
Oh.
And then I just picked it up and was like, oh, pop save here. Oh, that's easy. And then just learned it. It felt great.
Just baby easy video game.
And a lot of that was the old memories coming back, because I really did play it for hours and hours and hours. So I've just had a fucking ball. I've like doubled my arcade clear total, which I feel pretty smug and joyful about. I think go ahead.
Beating arcade games feels like it's an entirely different kind of feeling from beating console games. Like, it's just something feels way more majestic about it.
Yep.
Beating arcade games to feel like I'm in control of my life.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm playing Batsugun now, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I that's not one I've ever kind of dug into myself, but I kind of feel like I should at some point.
Yeah, it's just like, because I like cave stuff, I like gold stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out there's a bunch of stuff in the 90s between the games that came out in the zeros and the games that came out in the 80s that are kind of like halfway between those two.
Yeah,
isn't that wild?
Weird. It's weird. It's almost like there was an evolution of ideas in there somewhere.
And when you combine those flavors the way Batsugun does, and I'm assuming a number of other games do, oh, it tastes so good. Oh,
goes down smooth. It goes down
so smooth. I was playing Batsugun at the start, just like my whole first credit. I was just like having a continuous freeze-on response on the back of my neck, just like, oh, yes, oh, the happy synth, FM synth, I think. I don't know if it's FM synth, and then with the big colorful, so then more modern big bullet patterns, and I'm like, yes. I love shmups, y'all.
They're pretty fun.
This is the longest shmup binge I've had in a long time. I can't believe it's still going. Because I'm still working on Batsugun.
Yeah. I was saying, like, this journey has not ended yet.
I know. I'm glad that I liked a cave game, because I think for a long time I kind of looked at, shmup top 10 list forums and whatnot.
And they're kind of just drowned in Dodonpachi and fucking Esperade and just all of that.
Yeah. But then, like, if you kind of looking at them just from a distance, they basically look like Cave just made like the same game 20 times.
And it can feel that way sometimes if you're not digging into the minutia of some of those games, yeah.
Yeah. But then playing Mushi Hime-sama after playing, a bunch of Dodonpachi as a kid, I was like, this feels it's got a different aesthetic, it's got a different vibe. It's got a completely different like scoring system, and though it's very simple, like the way it presents itself, at least on original mode. And then I looked like it, Dangan Feveron and Ketsui, and at the Dodonpachi side, ESP Escaluda. They make, I think their games are meaningfully distinct,
right?
And I think that's what I kind of had to accept and be into in order to be excited about their catalog the way I was seeing shmup forums be like, why would you have 10 different cave games on here? They're all the same. Well, it's the similar voice, and it's definitely, there are things I want out of shmups that I won't get out of any cave game, but I can see wanting to dig into a bunch more of these now, and that's really kind of world expanding when it comes to shmups, because they made a lot of games.
Yeah, and they're making a new Toho game.
Thank God, right?
They're making a fucking. They're absolutely going to make a. It's absolutely going to be on phones. There's no question about it.
Yep.
It might not even be a shmup. It might be another fucking. I didn't even process this, but the one that already exists is apparently like a Fate Go like, and I'm like,
well,
you could have had shmup stages. There's everything else, every other. You could have had shmup stages for your dumb levels. There's no reason you didn't have. You didn't.
I think a Zero Lane kind of is a shmup too. Like, it's been done before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cave has one. Cave has one they've been doing for 5 years. That's what keeps their lights on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love. I was just like at the end of this, like, all right, I like Cave. I love old Konami games. I love old Capcom games. I love old IRAM games. The world is my oyster. I am done. That was my arcade binge.
Nice.
Rat.
Oh boy.
What have you been up to?
I mean, I guess I'll just start where I left off. I finished The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure.
Didn't you? Hadn't you finished that last episode?
No, so I know where exactly. I was in the intermission chapter.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about how much fan service there is in this game.
Sure. Okay. I know where you're at now. Okay.
Some very gratuitous stuff there with the whole, beach trip that they go on.
Yeah.
Little did I know, and I should have seen this coming 10 miles away. That game, they build you up so they can knock you down. Very, very transparently.
Mm-hmm.
Because, things did not stay as happy as cheerful for pretty much the entire rest of the game, like, immediately after that. Like, shit's happening. Oh, shit's going, oh no. This one just really kind of piles it on.
Yeah, like, it just kind of keeps going, and you wonder how much of a battering do my feelings need?
Yeah. I think, like, end of chapter 3 into chapter 4, I think that was the one. I'm not sure entirely. Mm-hmm. But that specific moment I'm thinking of might be, like, the most a video game has, like, ever made me despair.
Oh.
Where it got to actually be, like, too much for me to handle on that evening. Where it's
remember now. Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm already not in a great mood, and now this game has pulled this shit, and I'm like...
Yeah.
Crying a bunch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really okay right now. Sorry, game. I'm gonna have to put you down for a few hours. Like, so yeah, this one's really good. I think there is an issue with this series that I'm starting to have now, where like there's two sides to it. These stories that they tell that don't feel entirely compatible at times. Where like there's the really kind of grounded, down-to-earth politics side, and then there's the supernatural stuff, like the society, the world-ending conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, because I get so into the politics stuff, because that is still, like, a huge part of the games.
Video games
like,
aren't politics,
when it kind of goes full... This game is definitely politics, sorry.
Oh, I know.
You play as cops.
Yeah.
This one's the most, even more than, like, first chapter. Which is about, like, well, other stuff and nationalism and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, I think there's like that part I mentioned earlier, like when the bad things that happen are grounded in kind of reality, and it's like very like small level violence on an intimate level, it's much scarier than like
it's more
lasers
real
and magic and dragons.
Yeah, like that's way more real.
It's way more real. And
it's way more this could happen.
Yeah, definitely. So, like, when this game kind of truly went bonkers and turned into, like, continent-scale threat, it, like, actually kind of lost a little bit for me, where it's like, okay, well, this isn't actually as scary, because now it's just a little very silly. Because, you've got a whole lot happening. I'm trying to be... Yeah, it swings real hard from, like... political drama into JRPG, like more so than I think even like second chapter does. And this game is very, very similar in a lot of ways to second chapter, but I really liked it.
Yeah, awesome. Like
there is one thing, like there's definitely parts in the writing that you just kind of gotta roll with. Like they're going to do the tropes, the anime tropes and stuff.
Oh yeah, and like it especially starts in the Crossbell games.
But I mean, like in second chapter, you had all the main villains kind of stand around for you, waiting in the tower at the end. and you fought them one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So this game also does, like, all the villains give you one-on-one fights. Or, no, it's 1-on-4, though, because you're ganging up on them. It's just like, if all the villains just hung out in the same room, you'd be totally fucked. So we're going to spread them out so you can have these cool cinematic boss fights.
I got good news.
These character arcs.
I got wonderful news for you.
Oh, no. Okay, so it's good to hear that they maybe don't keep doing that.
Oh, that's not what I meant at all.
Oh. Okay.
Oh,
sorry.
The opposite. Probably maybe meant the opposite.
Oh, they're going to keep doing it, of course. That's what I expected. Because, unfortunately, the way people talk about Trails of Cold Steel, like, further continuing some of the tropiness by a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I forget which one I heard it was, but, like, a whole lot of, you won this fight, but then the cutscene says you lost.
Yeah, that's definitely a Cold Steel thing for a long time.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little rough. So, like, I'm at the point now where I've played the Crossbell games, and I bought the first 2 Cold Steel games.
Well, that journey's got to happen sometime.
But it's not going to happen instantly.
No,
I am not the type of person to just spend 8 months.
I would not recommend it. Like, I've never recommended anybody do this because, and I've seen tons of people do it, and I'm still just like, I don't think you should do it. I don't know that series has the kind of staying power and the kind of diversity that you might need in your gaming appetite.
Yeah. Because, like, John and me had the same feeling at the start of Zero, where it was like, hey, I'm really glad that they have 2 more of the sprite-based kind of cutesy PSP-style games. By the end of this one, I am so glad that they are changing things up at least a little visually. That the next game's going to switch to fully 3D. Like, that'll be a big refreshing moment of, like, getting to see things from a new perspective.
It'll be Sony's engine from 2006.
God. Like, I'm not expecting super modern, not even like Ys 9 level graphics, but it'll just be different.
My dude, eyes and mouths are animated textures, my dude.
Just like Mega Man Legends, the greatest game.
Yeah!
And the best 3D graphics ever, so...
Yeah.
Like,
that's not a thing I'm actually going to have a problem with. I think it sounds cute.
Oh, it is. Like, they only do that for Cold Steel 1 and 2. They upgrade for 3 and 4.
Okay. So that's nice. But, like, yeah, I'm just saying, like, the combat system, and I'm not expecting that to get totally overhauled. Like, they kind of just keep bolting things onto it to keep it from being completely stale.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of the same stuff. Like, and again, like, having to have that orbment reset at the start of this game was like, here we go again.
Well, like, at least the orbment system in the Cold Steel games, for better or worse, is much more simplified. So that even when it gets, like, completely re-stripped down in a sequel, it's like, well, okay, it doesn't really hurt that much because, like, it's a simpler system now.
In third, I was spending like 15 minutes on the orbment screen.
Yeah.
So,
I
think it makes sense that maybe we could streamline a bit.
Yeah. So, like, for the first half of this game, I just didn't bother min-maxing the orbments at all, and then by the back half, I was back to spending 20 minutes at a time. Like, start of a new chapter, buy some new stuff. Okay, Tio, what you got? Okay, I'm gonna do. Okay, you've got the strongest spell in the game. Let's go.
I did that in Zero, and I was like, yes. Chapter 2, let's go.
You can still pull off some kind of nutso stuff once you get some slots open.
Did they, like, was it Crossbell that introduced Sepith masses so that, like, you just always had a constant flow of money?
I don't think so.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
I've never heard of that.
I couldn't remember if that was, like, a Cold Steel thing, or if they introduced that in Crossbell, because, like, you can get Sepith masses from every fight in the Cold Steel games, so you just always have money coming in.
Yeah,
I mean, you get Sepith after every monster in Trails in the Sky. And
but this is Sepith mass, which is just like it's Sepith that you can only sell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just money.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, which is just dumb because it's just like, why don't you just make the enemies drop money? This just seems like a pointless extra thing.
Because the lore, goddammit, the monsters aren't carrying money.
I get it.
They're carrying masses of Sepith.
Right.
That makes way more
what
sense.
else would they carry?
It'd be funny if the human enemies then did just drop money.
Yeah, I mean that would
you beat them up and then you just take some money out of their pocket.
There are games that do that. I do believe Xenogears does that.
I forget.
Oh, I know that Final Fantasy.
No, I know.
Final
I did
Fantasy
not have enough money.
Final Fantasy.
I did not have enough money in
Final Fantasy 13 does it. Like,
okay.
Like human enemies have a chance to always drop money. So
cool. The big thing they introduced in Azure is Master Quartz.
Yeah.
And I guess that carries over into Cold Steel, where like you'll have like the center spot now is reserved for Master Quartz, and like this one will be like, oh, this one gives you 30% more EP, or they're really strong, but you can only have one of them. And then the one I had on Tio by the end, and I didn't use it most of the game because it started kind of weak, but I kept it in the background leveling up. By the end of the game, it was 90% chance crit on spells.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Fucking ridiculous.
It's bonkers.
Just like, okay, she's just basically always critting with these things now.
Yeah.
The other thing that's new in this one is like 0 delay after casting a certain element. So for the final fights, I've just got Tio with like 90% crit, casting like the weakest wind spell.
Yeah.
And then immediately getting a new turn.
Yeah.
And then casting it with like 4 delay, and then immediately getting a new turn. So you can just like get multiple turns off on this enemy over and over and over. It's just like, oh my god, this is so broken. And I guess they keep all that for the...
Yeah, it just, like, this is a series where you are just continuously going to have busted characters by the time you get to the end.
But I like that, like, the busted strategies do change. Like, in the earlier games, it was like, oh, the earth spell that nullifies damage.
Yeah, like, get your earth spell, and then get everybody Hellgate, and spam that for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I had to think about and do a new tactic for this one, because I had my healer having just... I think it was the healer actually had the wind one, where it was like, okay, he's just going to do the AoE heal spell instantly every turn.
Yeah.
And just like the enemies just really can't keep up with your level of healing then.
Yeah.
And yeah, the story is really, really good.
Oh man. Like when you get when you find out what's going on in that game. Oh my god.
The number of all caps DMs I sent Polly and Iffy towards the end of this game.
Those were a treat.
And and they're in the middle of the night because I'm playing at like 4 a.m. and I'm just like losing my mind, like all caps. Are you fucking kidding me?
It's the good shit.
Like the weird way I'd want to describe this is that it feels like against the law for a JRPG to have a story twist this good. where they pull off this huge high concept thing that feels like reserved for a visual novel.
Like, you don't think that anybody
a game
can pull
that has
this
to worry
off.
about gameplay could also pull this off.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so good.
It's so good. So yeah, I will continue with Cold Steel eventually.
That'll be interesting. I'll be interested in seeing how that one lands. That game's got a start that just hit me so wrong.
Oh, the whole trip and
like I hate the first month of that first game so much.
Oh boy. I'm not expecting to like it as much immediately off the bat as
you won't.
The previous 5 games. Because like they've definitely been like, okay, you win, and like because I'm playing like basically the official versions now that these translations have gotten picked up by Nisa.
Yeah.
Like it's been rare for people to actually play all the games in order because Cold Steel 1 came out before 3rd and the Crossbell games.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge skip. So like the huge tonal dissonance there.
Oh yeah, it's
isn't going to be as crazy for me at least coming off of Azure and some of the fan service in that
because they've led up to a lot of the changes that were made with the Crossbell games.
but also like Cold Steel is a 4-game arc, and
oh yeah, long haul, baby.
Which definitely seems like, reading opinions, kind of like the biggest knock against it. I saw somebody say like Cold Steel takes 4 games to do what the other arcs did in 2.
I think Cold Steel could have been 3 games. I really think it could have. But I think that they were kind of writing. Falcom was writing a good thing. Like they kind of burst to prominence with these games, and they really hit the mainstream. So I can see why they wanted to do 4 of them.
Yeah,
not counting Hajimari. So
that's the other thing. Took them 4 games to do it, and then they're still having to do a little bit of final cleanup for the Reen story in Hajimari.
Yeah,
or Reverie, as it's going to be called now.
Yeah, Reverie now.
Like, kind of excessive.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And the fact that those games are like 80 to 100 hours long now. Like, they also are bigger.
If you were like me... If you were like me and want to do all the side quests, then yeah, those games are going to take about 60 to 80 hours apiece.
Like, I never hated the side quests in Azure. I never hated the side quests in Azure, but I definitely got to a point of, I don't know if I can keep doing all these for how many games left in the series I have.
When I played the Cold Steel games, my cutoff point for side quests was almost always, did I level up enough on my class skills to get the Grail Locket as a reward? If I did, then a lot of these quests have now been deemed very, very tertiary.
And, like, there's some good stuff in this one where, like, if you meet a character in a side quest and then they show up in the main story, they mention it. They mention it, totally acknowledge that, oh, we saw you earlier. Yep. Yeah. And that's really cool. I like that stuff.
Like, that shit still happens in Cold Steel, too. Yeah.
Cool. But, like, there's so many points where I just kind of felt demotivated when it's like, I want to get to the next big story event, and then they throw, like, 4 side quests up on the board. I'm just like, there's one where they say like, go ahead.
And like Cold Steel does a thing where it's just like some of these quests are mandatory, where you have to do them, and then some of them are optional.
Does it say?
Yes, it tells you like this is an immediate quest. You have to do this one. You have to do this one. This one down here you can maybe skip if you want, but it's got a good reward.
Okay. Yeah. Because there's one part in Azure where they're like, big thing is going to happen tomorrow. Anyways, we've got some side quests to do. Yep. So you do the side quest, and then you get to tomorrow, and they're like, oh, it's 10 a.m. now. Big thing happens at noon. Let's do some side quests. There's 2 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
There's 2 rounds right in a row, and I just kind of went, come on. You can't use the word tomorrow and fuck me like that.
Got some good news for you, Rat.
Don't even.
Intonation.
Yeah.
I think if I tried to chew through, I think if I tried to chew through like a bunch of these in a row, and especially a bunch of Cold Steel in a row, I would go insane.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I couldn't do it.
That's not my speed. This will be a fun 3+ year adventure, or 5 or 6 years at my current pace.
Or at the rate they're coming out, it actually just keeps getting longer unless you play like 2 a year.
Yeah, like we're getting a break.
I know.
Go ahead.
We're getting a break this year, actually. Thankfully, it's like I don't know that I wanted another Trails game to play at the end of the year this year. So the fact that we're getting a break between like Cold Steel 4 and Reverie while they catch up with the Crossbell games, it's like, yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
But like America or like the West is getting a break. In Japan, they might have a new game this year. Is what I'm saying.
It's coming out. It's coming out in September.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like
Kuro no Kiseki is out in September, so they've already got the box art out and everything. So
yeah. So like when we're getting
60% through, right? So
yeah.
So we're getting there. We're getting there, Rhett. We're gonna finish.
I mean, yes, when they
Trails Saga
when they eventually
in 2035. And then by 2050, we'll all be dead, so it won't matter.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's like
by 2050, the world will have ended, so we're good.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, continue.
It's just like next year they're releasing the official releases of the 2 Crossbell games, and then like if you're playing them in order, like imagine having the 2 Cold Steel games come out the same year, and then having to play 4 Cold Steel games, and then Reverie.
Woo!
Like, so like yeah, I've got some time before Reverie comes out because I've already played the Crossbell games.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got 4 in a row.
4 fucking games, my dude.
There's just no easy way. So like even if I did like 2 next year and then 2 in 2023, so like maybe I'd be playing Reverie in 2024. Like how many Kuro games are there going to be by that point? That's what I'm saying. Like catching up 8, all 9 in a row, like on some level it does make sense.
Yeah.
Except then you're playing in that battle system for 9 or 1,000 hours.
God.
I mean, there's people who can do that. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, the people who only play Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
That's the one game they play. So, like, in that regard, Cold Steel or Legend of Heroes could be the only franchise you play.
I mean, there are people like that.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not one of them.
Nah, I can't do that.
Yeah. So that
I
took long.
I can't even just play RPGs. Like I have to.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Things.
I like to dabble in every genre, and it's getting increasingly harder because like I kind of didn't play JRPGs for a long time until Neptunia, and now I've branched out from that, and like I'm playing more, and it's just like, oh right, these games are super fucking long. Like when one of these takes a month versus like shorter action games taking maybe a week, like you just get through way fewer games, and it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where's the time going?
I just kind of don't. I just kind of don't feel. I'm not. I'm not really worried about catching up on Trails right now because that just seems.
Aww.
It seems so completely like overwhelming. I guess I'm just kind of letting it hit me as it comes.
Yeah.
So I feel okay about that. Just like okay, I have a wellspring of gifts.
Yeah.
In this style game that I know is consistently satisfying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nice.
Yeah. For me, letting it hit me as it comes was literally just playing them as soon as those translations came out.
Cool.
Like, okay. Like, when they announced the Zero, I was like, okay, that's just front of the line, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And, like, I played Zero, like, pretty much as soon as it came out.
Yeah.
But, so, like, now I'm at the scary point where there's 4 more ready to go. And it's like, now I have to tell myself when I'm ready. Yeah. I'm not just letting the translations kind of dictate when I play them.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I get you.
I really liked Zero, so like I'm in for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I really like it too, as you all obviously know, right?
Yeah, yeah. Intonation.
Intonation.
Tom in the fucking chat bringing up his hell order for playing Trails.
I know, so that's the thing. Western fans have these nightmarish orders, and like getting to do them the first 5 in release order has been really nice.
Yeah.
One day I'll be ready for the rest of Trails FC's prologue.
Is anyone ever quite ready for the 6 hours of prologue?
It's so much. It really is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a big ask.
It's a big ask. God, the rest of the game. I don't know. I feel it. Cool.
The funny thing, though, is that Azure, like, I don't know exactly how it works, but, like, Cold Steel completely looms over this game, because I think 1 and 2 happen at roughly the same time.
Yes.
So, like, they're very vague about events that are also happening at the same time. And then the ending of this game happens, and I almost wanted to start Cold Steel 1 immediately. I just kind of went, oh, are you kidding me? And then, like...
I feel that every time now with, like, long serial RPGs. I'm like, I'll take forever in the middle, and then I'll blaze through the back half, and then I'll be like, I want to start the next one. And then if I do...
Oh, yeah.
Then it's going to stretch out into 4 months again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
even though I want it so much in the moment. I want it so much.
You want that high to keep going because these games always end really strongly.
Yeah, which is not something you can say for a lot of long-form games. Mm-hmm. Like, that's something very positive about Falcom or Xeno or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
With Kingdom Hearts, it's extremely just that, because that is pretty much all you get, is that last high for the last 3 hours. So that is the only thing keeping you going. Alright, sorry.
I think that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I was gonna talk about some other games, but maybe since that took so long, I'll throw it to Paulie for now.
Alright. I watched anime! Can you believe that while I was undergoing major dental surgery and things of that nature, that all I wanted to do was basically just watch Japanese cartoons for a bit.
I can believe that.
Yeah, that's kind of where the mood was. That doesn't mean I wasn't getting into video games. That's just not what we're going to talk about right now, because I feel like, you know what? We've talked about video games for a while. Why don't we break things up a little bit? Starting with the end of a series that I have talked about for a while on this podcast. I talked about it 1 or 2 episodes ago, I'm sure. I think
it was on the previous episode.
Yeah, like, a show that I've mentioned watching on and off. I know that it was mentioned.
My brain just figured it out.
Oh yeah. I just finished Ijiranade Nagatoro-san. There we go. Boom. Sunk Rhett's battleship there.
You bullied me.
So yeah, this is the bullying show. The cute girl with all the wicked facial expressions you've probably seen on Twitter. She's got great facials, man. That artist is a genius with regards to facial expressions, and this girl's got them. And yeah, like, I started watching this show because, like, the discourse around it really just kind of sucked me in, because it really just sounded like a bunch of whiny nerds being mad that a girl was kind of just asserting herself in a way that, like, maybe they typically aren't in these kinds of shows, and it made them uncomfortable, made their wee-wee feel small. That's the general impression that I got from, like, reading the thread for the first episode on my anime list anyway, was that people were just like, man, this girl just really intimidates you, doesn't she? And that's not to say that, like, the things that she's doing at the start of this show starting out aren't really mean-spirited, because I think that, like, the first couple of episodes, I think they definitely give you the wrong impression, because even I don't think the manga goes as hard. Like, it definitely didn't feel as mean-spirited when I read the manga's opening. When I compare it to the anime, where, like, it's almost like she's literally getting off on getting the main character to cry. Like, it literally, like, it's really hard to watch. Like, it's like, okay, that's a little much. But, like, that
was my impression from the manga.
But, like, all of that, like, really kind of just softens up, and what you end up with is essentially this collection of scenarios of, like, 2 awkward teenagers who are ultimately just bad at expressing themselves. Ending up in situations where their real feelings come out in these big, loud, sometimes just completely wrong ways. But there's, like, actual growth to it as you kind of get into these little comedic situations. Like, yes, like, she is kind of this instigator for him. But as the show goes on, you sort of get the feeling that she's doing this to kind of, like, pull him out of his shell or something. Like, I don't feel that it's bullying, like, even after, like, the 2nd or 3rd episode. Like, it generally feels like she's taking an interest in wanting to be friends with this person because she feels a connection with him for some reason. Like, she's going to bat for it. Like, she gets visually upset when other people start doing the same things to him that she's doing. So, like, when somebody else, like one of her friends picks up trying to, like, make the same kind of joke that she's made with him, she just, like, you need to fucking stop right now. And it's really cute because there's this, like, it's not really, like, possession, I guess, but it's more like, look, we have a rapport. You don't. This is our thing. And like, he seems like, and the main character himself seems to be more open to, like, you get the feeling they're both into whatever this dynamic is.
Yeah.
Because, like, even where I've read to in the manga, I don't think we're at, like, a full understanding of, like, do these two understand the feelings they're trying to work out here? There's definite moments where you have these big moments that mean a lot, where you see that they actually emotionally grow closer together, because they're speaking more honestly, or they'll go out of their way to defend one another, like when something bad happens. It's just like, oh, like, and those moments are always nice, because they're sprinkled around these moments of her constantly prodding him, and just kind of, like, trying to goad him and bait him, and kind of, you know, like, and so that when you have those emotional moments that sort of show that they have grown as characters, they pop a lot more. Like Nagatoro might tease Senpai relentlessly, but I think, like, you start to understand that, like, she actually really cares about him a lot, and it's really kind of sweet. And like, you also get the impression that if, like there are a few moments where it's just like, you know, maybe he's had enough, and she knows to back off. You get the impression that if he wanted her to stop, she would. So there's definitely this nice consensual thing going on here. And something else that a show, like, I wasn't expecting to see handled, like, you're gonna have those moments where a character falls into her boobs, because that's funny, but this, like, I've not seen one of these types of shows handle it in this way, where, like, the moment happens, they'll be fooling around, and maybe, like, there'll be, like, this weird bodily contact that would usually, like, be played for a joke, and, like, oh, she's gonna smack the crap out of him, or something like that. But the way it's handled is actually, honestly, like, this honest awkwardness, where she doesn't, like, blow up and get mad. There's just, like, genuine discomfort, and that, like, she knows this wasn't intentional, but it's also, I don't really feel okay with this right now. Like, this wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not mad, but let's just move on and not make a thing out of it. And I've not seen a show like this with the characters in this kind of dynamic kind of have situations end up that way, where they have that bit of honesty, where maybe, like, you're fooling around with somebody and you accidentally touch them in a way that you didn't mean to. And you have that moment of, oh, and everybody's kind of got to stop for a moment, assess, look at it, like, maturely, and be like, okay, look, this was uncomfortable, but I know nothing was intentional, and this wasn't, like, you know, the intent. Let's just kind of move past this and not let that happen again. And that just, like, and that happens more than a few times, like, to kind of show that, like, even though I'm, like Nagatoro is presented sort of as a sex object in this show, you know, for better or worse, but when something sexual or sexual in nature happens to her like that, or she has that kind of contact with the main character, it's pointed out as very much that this is not okay, but there's no need to make a big deal out of it. You know, it was like we were horsing around, it was an accident, like we're not going to do the whole tsundere slap you around because you landed in my boobs thing. And, like, every time it did that, it just made it feel really honest to me. And I kind of like, I like stories that have that kind of genuine, weird, awkward teenage honesty. Like Saikano has a lot of that, with these two characters who are, like, trying to understand sexual situations and things like that, but it's just like, they're weird kids and don't fucking get it. Like, you kind of get that same kind of energy here, where it's just like, you might relate to that a little bit. It's awkward, it's weird, it's just, like, it's a show about awkward kids just fucking being awkward, and I thought it was genuinely pretty good.
I deeply appreciate that you compared Nagatoro to Saikano.
Yeah,
I feel like that is in a very lucid, appropriate way. I think that is fantastic energy. I appreciate it.
I think they pull from that same awkward sexual tension that happens when you're a teenager, and you're with somebody of the opposite sex. It's just natural. There's no point in like I don't feel that this show is reveling in it or trying to make it sexy, because it's an awkward, weird situation and nobody is happy about being in it. So, yeah, like, just overall, like, it's like, it's not the greatest show in the world. I think that the writing can rely a little too much on, I guess, some jokes here and there, but ultimately, I think that this is a fantastic, like, recreation of what that manga is. Like, it's almost panel for panel. Like, they're just, like, taking those wild, over-the-top expressions and animating them, and just, like, it's so good.
It's so pretty. The faces are so goddamn good.
Yeah,
I read like 50 chapters. Like,
yeah, that's about how much
I
I've read. Is about, like, I've read up to just kind of where, like, the anime, like, leaves off, and the anime ends on a really good arc. It's got a nice bit of drama, and it leaves that little moment at the end where, like, these two characters can have a nice quiet moment together that maybe there is something here. You know, they leave you with on a nice note that feels really good.
That's really all you need with these shows sometimes.
Yeah. Like, and just, like, having watched it, like, week to week as it was airing, it was just like, you know, you get, like, your one little shot of that a week feels really good. I don't think that there's necessarily a need to shotgun a show like that. Like, watching an episode a week, I got exactly what I wanted out of it, so it felt pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I was gonna watch a different show first, but maybe I'll just go through this first.
I think it's worth it. I want
to watch it basically.
Yeah. Like, I think, like, if anything, like Nagatoro's, like, actress, like, needs to get a lot of props here too. The way that she brings that character to life, like, you know, you can do that with visuals, but you also need the right voice to go with it, and she's so good at playing it up. Just really good. Like, a damn good show top to bottom.
I feel like you're giving me a nice way to kind of get back into that story, because I think I, like, read a big chunk of the manga and then was kind of like, because I got pulled in because it started off feeling like kind of dangerous and scary and messy, and when it settled into that much more kind of sweet rhythm, I was a little bit disappointed. And I don't know, like, I wanted to watch, I don't know, Scum's Wish or something. And instead I was like, oh, this is just like a sweet rom-com, actually. It's just got this interesting dynamic. So I feel like just kind of going back into it and maybe approaching it from that angle mentally could be really nice. It'd be a way to, because I love the characters, like, right away. Like, the dynamics are all lovely.
I think the characters are just an immediate hook. Like Senpai obviously has his moments starting out. Like, he's got to kind of be, he's got to be, like, you know, he's got to be Nagatoro's whipping boy for a bit. But he grows into his own in a real satisfying way. Like, by the end of that show, there's no doubt that it's just like, yeah, you are here for this. You are okay with this. Like, it's all good. Like, you know, you feel good about the teasing because you know it's coming from, like, it's actually coming from a good place. It's just two people whose interactions are just like this.
It feels like it struck a personal note with you.
I like it. I think it's nice.
Absolutely. That's really sweet.
All right.
Cool.
I played a video game. I'm doing the dodge. I pulled Red in, and now I'm gonna make him wait longer.
You bully! I'm crying sometime now.
I said it struck a personal note. I was like,
maybe to a little degree. I might relate to Nagatoro just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
She's sweet. What do y'all say?
Exactly. Everything she does it out of love.
Does it with a big smile.
Does it with a big smile. And she's got, like,
not at all evil smile.
And she's got, like, literally every type of fang in anime you could ever ask for. She's got like 2 flesh fangs, one on either side, and this is just all situational. They can happen whenever. She's got real fangs. Like she's got it all. The total package.
Oh my god. I am recalling a manga panel where she like opens up her mouth and like,
look, I got real sharp canines,
like real fangs, like fucking awaken something.
I think I remember that one too. Yeah.
That's good. That's animated, baby. It's in the anime. You're in for a good treat. Played a video game on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, tell us about this one.
Called the Ninja. It's called the Ninja Saviors.
Oh,
this fits into our past discussion, I think.
Yes, it might be. This is called the Ninja Saviors. This is actually the Ninja Warriors once again. This is the actual name in Japan. Because, like, you got the Ninja Warriors, which is the original arcade game. And then you've got...
the 3 screens.
Which was a cool 3-screen thing that Taito did back in the day that was really neat. They did it for Darius, too. You got Ninja Warriors again, which was an update and a whole new game released on the SNES in like 94 or 95. And then this is Ninja Warriors once again, or just the Ninja Saviors, which is a cool, fantastic update of that original SNES game. But he's also... like, what the fuck was I gonna say? I think I just had a stroke live on air.
We got a good chunk of it. Why would you get confused about the Ninja Warriors again, and the Ninja Warriors once again? Like, wait a minute. It is a remake of the Ninja Warriors again.
God. So this is a single-plane, side-scrolling beat-em-up. Think Bad Dudes, but not bad.
Good dudes.
Yeah, it's good dudes. And they're ninjas, and they're kidnapping the president. It's good. So you got you get 3 characters that feel super duper omega unique. Like this is what you start out with. You start out with 3 characters, and they all play entirely differently. Like you've got Ninja, who is literally just Mike fucking Hagar with nunchucks and a goddamn ninja outfit on that looks like he's just busting out of it. It's ridiculous. I think they know what they were doing there. Like, the dude he can't jump. He only has, like, a rocket thruster he can briefly put himself in the air with.
And his name is Ninja.
His name is Ninja.
Does he say ninja when he fights?
Nobody has voice clips. I was really hoping, though. But hey, we got Blade.
I want to picture him in the back of the classroom in ninja school with all the small ninjas around him, and he's like sitting at the desk that's too small for him.
Yeah, he's just like
teacher demonstrates.
You can hear the desk squeaking anytime he moves just a little bit, because it's just kind of trying to not buckle under the pressure of being moved out by his complete girth. But yeah, he's just a big ninja with nunchucks that take up half the fucking screen. Then there's Kunoichi, who is basically the character from that original game. She's like just a, kind of like the most basic, jumpy, hacky, slashy character you have in the game. And then there's Kamae Itachi, which is just, he's literally walking hitbox and he can't grapple. Not very well. Which is bad, because one of the major fucking final bosses, you need to be able to grapple. So he's really hard to use there. And then you also you unlock 2 more characters as you play the video game, who are also wildly different. You've got Akasha, I think her name is. I think she's literally Doc Octopus with tits. Like, she's got these extra arms that pop out that she can just, grab enemies and fling them back and forth like Jax does in Mortal Kombat 2 with the Gotcha Slam. She can, latch them into the ground and dart herself forward through enemies. She can use them to fly through the air. It's just and I won't spoil the last character because it's big and dumb and stupid in all the best possible ways. I'll just say that he is literally 3/4 of the screen large.
Oh my god.
So, this is a game where your choice of character is going to dramatically change how you interact with this game. And every playthrough is going to feel wildly different Every character has their own set of moves. It's not fighting game deep, but there's enough like depth there that it actually feels satisfying learning your character. And you really have to learn your character if you're going to finish this game, because it does not fuck around. Because despite the fact that like this game does that thing where it's really satisfying in that it's always throwing loads of enemies at you that only take one hit to kill. So you just like run around and like you put your fist through 5 dudes at once, and it feels incredible. And then they mix in these smaller, more complicated enemies with tougher patterns and tougher weapons to deal with, and it's incredible. Like, it's a great setup for a game like this. But with how complex and nuanced all of your characters are, you have to learn to approach all of these situations in like just incredibly different ways. So like, having played through it now 3 times now with just the 3 main characters, and like I've not 1cc'd it yet with like Akasha or the other character yet, but having played through it 3 times now with the 3 main characters, like, it was like, you know, trying to wrap my brain around how complex this game was again, because I own this on SNES, but like they also added extra moves to this game to make the characters feel like have a little more depth and stuff. So like it's one of those perfect upgrades where they changed just enough about that original game to make this like the definitive edition of what that game is.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I think that, like...
And you love that old game. I remember you talking about it
like,
ages ago.
That old game is still fantastic. Like, after I finished this the first time, I went back and played that SNES version. I was like, yeah, like, this still feels real good. Like, it's just that game kind of just lifted up to 2021 standards with just a few modernizations, just enough added to the characters, to really fucking make it shine. Like, it feels like something that like an indie studio would put out now, because that's where all your retro games are coming from now. So it's an old game that's been freshened up just enough to feel new again. And it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody here played the Wild Arms Reloaded that these same people did.
Interesting. So
like, that is just the same kind of update that this one is. And like, if you want something that's just like I don't know if anybody played those older SNES Power Ranger game beat 'em ups. This is like, I do believe that those were built from the Ninja Warriors Again engine on the SNES, because
I did play that. That was the first beat 'em up I beat as a kid.
Yeah, because they felt like these games feel similar, but obviously the Ninja Warriors has a lot more depth to it, since all of the characters are unique and have their own strengths and weaknesses that aren't just like, oh, you move slower or anything like that. It's just like, you know, like Ninja can't jump, so you have to find different ways on getting in on your enemies. So they gave him this cool dash maneuver he has that he can like launch combos off of. And that shit feels real good. And like Kamaitachi, he can't throw enemies, but he can but like when he crawls on the ground, literally nothing can hit him, and he can just get in, and he's just a walking fucking hitbox. Like, if you just like start attacking with this dude, like, he's just a walking hitbox. But again, he can't throw very well, so he's gonna have a lot of problems with some later bosses. So you've got to kind of learn how to use his throws effectively. And luckily the game does have an in-game manual that tells you all the ins and outs of every character. That way, and they're not hard to learn. Like, there's no like fighting game inputs or anything like that. It's all just like the timing of when you press left or right while you're attacking, or just like grabbing an enemy and then pressing up or down when you attack. Like, it's all simple stuff like that. But just like knowing your complete movesets per character will like aid you a lot in how you approach boss fights, and like you've got to learn how to block. Like, you cannot play this game and not learn how to block, and you can block in the air, so keep that in mind. Like, there's not a lot I can complain about. Like, this is just like everything I could have wanted out of an updated version of that fantastic SNES game. there's like one or two enemy types and a boss that I know kind of read your input, and that can feel kind of poopy at times because input reading just feels bad, man. Yeah. Sorry, it just never feels like it does. It never feels like a legitimate challenge. So, but I mean, other than that, like, I've had nothing but a goddamn blast playing this game. I think I've got another 10 or so hours in this game with more 1cc's and maybe trying to finish hard mode, because my god, is hard mode really fucking hard, you guys. It's really hard.
Probably I looked up the 5th character.
He's ridiculous.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
That I want to buy the game now. That looks so good.
It feels so good to have that much power at your control. And yeah, it is ridiculous. And they still are able to make the game challenging for him, which is so weird to me. But yeah, this game is everything. Like I said, everything I could have wanted in an upgrade. Like, if you told me back when I played this game back in '95 that, like, almost 20 years later I'd be playing a cooler version of it, I think I'd be like, man, I can't wait to be 40 years old. Because this game fucking rocks. Like, it just
awesome.
This game feels incredible to play. Like, there are so many really good design decisions made around just making everything you do feel really good. Like, you are just so powerful. Like, just the way you pick things up and throw them around, and you're just constantly, like, hurling enemies into one another and into various background objects. Like, I think the only real complaint I could make about the game, and I would make it about the original too, is I feel it could probably have been one stage shorter. Because I think, like, I kind of had a moment on Twitter earlier where I was just like, you know what? Beat 'em ups don't need to be an hour long. And this game
or 90 minutes.
Or, 90 minutes.
As the case may be.
With Streets of Rage 4. But this game will run up to about an hour. And I think they could have taken out one stage and been fine. Like, one of the stages is just kind of like, this was kind of a bit of a throwaway. I don't know that we needed this one. But yeah. But the Ninja Saviors, like, it's on Switch, it's on PS4. I waited forever for this thing to come to PC, because Wild Guns Reloaded literally came out on PC, like, day and date with all of the console versions. So I don't know why this never made it to PC. And then somebody got it for me for Christmas last year, and I was like, okay, because they knew that I was waiting, and I think that they saw that, like, yeah, you're never getting that game if you just keep waiting. So, yeah, PS4 and Switch, if you want, like, some damn solid beat-em-up action that just feels real good and makes you feel real good at the video game, because you gotta learn your character, you gotta learn to play it. You gotta play it, and you gotta play it like Dark Souls. You gotta learn to play it right. The only way to play the video game.
Any game, isn't it wild how any game that makes you, like, learn how to die and then learn how to play it and then fail sometimes and then do something again is just like Dark Souls?
Yeah, it's kind of like how... Well, I mean, it's just like how Persona 5 literally invented every good idea for RPGs, Dark Souls literally, revolutionized action games.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
before...
Go
ahead.
The world was very cool before, but then Persona 5 came out and introduced the color red, and it changed everything.
What the fuck, man? What the fuck?
Like, finally, blood had a color.
I know, right? Like, what's this pussy-ass Danganronpa shit? It was pink. It was pink all along, and then Persona 5 came along and said, no, what are you doing?
This is such a dumb joke. I love this dumb joke.
Yep.
I'll always love Persona 5 invented everything.
Yep. 5-minute break?
Yep.
Sure.
We will be right back. Stay tuned. Or not. Like, if you want to go do something, I ain't gonna cry. I probably will, but I won't let you know that.
Dicks.
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 All right, chat. What are your feelings on dicks?
I was like, don't know what I should say because I don't know if we're live or not. Oh, we are still okay.
Fellatio.
Dicks.
Fellatio. Fellatio.
I heard you.
I know. I'm just saying. I like doing it. Should I put that out there? Should I put that out there? I like saying fellatio is what I mean.
Yeah. That's definitely what you meant.
Yeah, exactly. What else could I have possibly meant? By saying I just like doing it after the word fellatio. What could I have possibly meant?
I came back at a good time.
You're talking about fellatio.
I noticed in the chat and here the fellatio ratio.
The fellatio. It's a good word. God. Fellatio is a good word. I've stood by. That has been my number one. That has been the number one agenda on my platform for years. Is that fellatio is a good word. I think that if anybody knows me,
job on Twitter. Wait, no, Ellie, please.
What?
If you post a blowjob picture on Twitter, do you get a fellatio ratio?
Oh God, man, having a podcast is too good. Who gave us this power?
We took it.
Oh man. Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him, fellatio. Relations. Okay. So.
For some reason that one hit me. The way you said that one hit me.
Intonation.
Intimate relations.
All right, John. Johnny John. Do you know Johnny is another word for penis?
Dicks?
Fellatio. Bet you didn't know that. You know that now.
Oh, that segues nicely into my next segment.
It does.
Does it?
Perfect. You're finally the big John Fire segment about dicks. I've been waiting.
All right, we needed to update the saga a little bit. So I think we're gonna go into another after hour section of the podcast here.
I'm here.
If y'all are down for that, are y'all down for that?
Let's do this shit.
What is about to happen?
It's the next chapter in the saga, Rhett. Are you up for that?
Here we go.
Is this a podcast within a podcast?
It's the after hour section. So, I finished the 7th Rants game.
Do we need to give a contest? Do we need to give a content warning here?
I'm about to.
All right.
Yeah. So the Rants games they're porn games from the 80s and 90s, and they're stuffed to the brim with like rape jokes and rape porn.
Yeah.
Like that's just constant in these games.
Yeah.
So like it's the tone like.
Look, Chad agrees. Rants is good.
June says Rants is good. It resonates with me. I think these are like a long running series of games with a bunch of continuity and like a specific sense of humor and a lot of really inventive RPG language that I connect with a lot.
It's the ease of porn games.
The ease of porn. This is the ease of porn games. It started like 2 years after Ease did, like, and continued for as long. So I just want to. This was the last one, really.
Oh yeah.
This was Kichikuo Rants. This was the Brutal King Rants. This was 1996, and it was the last one for a long time. This was the game that Alisoft made because they thought they were going to go out of business. Mm-hmm. So they threw all their best ideas that they wanted to do in a Rants game into one big game. Mm-hmm. And then it became the best-selling eroge of all time.
That's
for like
man, they're literally living the Final Fantasy here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was their Final Fantasy. It's a very different game from the previous Rants games because 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.1, 4.2. I played 7 Rances in a row because, like, obviously I'm gonna do that. If I really connect with the thing, I'll blaze through 7 RPGs in a row just fine.
Yeah,
you'd have to be like bad. You'd have to basically be shit for me not to want to do that if you're a learning series.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is now non-canon because this was basically like literally we're just going to do everything. We're going to finish the series now. Mm-hmm. So that became a what if game basically, and then they did 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 over the next 20 years, and those games followed directly from 4 basically. And all the subsequent games basically build off ideas from Kichikuo Rants. Like they introduced the magical kingdom of Zeth and Kichikuo Rants. They introduced the kingdom of Japan in Kichikuo Rants. They did a bunch of stuff with Hellman, which had a big part in 4 and 3. Like it was really just Hellman and Lizas in 1 through 4, and then they blew up the world even further to include Zeth and Japan and the demon world, like because that's the ultimate final conflict in this one.
Right.
And then Rant 6 2004 is all about Zeth. They completely just zeroed in on this one, like basically chapter from Kichikuo Rants and blew it up into a 40-hour first-person dungeon crawler RPG with a bunch of story. 7 is Sengoku Rants, which is the one that became really popular here, and it's in the same style as Kichikuo Rants, except it all takes place in Japan. They took that one section of Kichikuo Rants and blew it up into a whole game that's beloved. And then the final game, 10, in 2018 was What If Rants Becomes King of the World? And then they're just doing that story again with even like the same conflict, but this game is just like this cauldron of bubbling, vibrant story ideas for where this series can go, and then it was so robust that they were able to spend like 20 years like fleshing them out into their own games, which is just wild. Yeah, Rhett?
Oh, when I said what earlier, when you said you had played the 7th Rants game, I thought you meant Rant 7, not this one, because you're counting 4.1 and 0.2, I guess.
Yes. So I played 1 through Kichikuo, so there's still 5 through 10 left. And it's just wild because this, unlike the previous ones, it's not an RPG or an adventure game. It is a grand strategy game. Like, my touch point for this is the board game Risk, because I have not played these games. It's not an SRPG.
No, it is a grand strategy game.
Yeah, you're not controlling units on a map. You're controlling cities attacking other cities, and then you're bashing your 2,000 units into another 2,000 units. and if you destroy them all, then you conquer that city for that turn, and then you do a bunch of other stuff. The Beebner says it's like the worst parts of Suikoden. Suikoden does not do anything interesting with its strategy elements at all. I don't think that's a fair comparison, because Kichikuo Rants is an actual like video game that cares about being played. So the thing is that it is a grand strategy game, and it is extremely hard because it's one of those games, and the way those games work is that you fuck up in turn 2, and then the consequences happen in turn 14, 15 hours later, and then
so
it sucks. And,
is it hard because you've not really played a lot of these and you just weren't used to that kind of thing? Or is it just like a staple of the genre that they're ridiculously difficult?
As I understand it, this is just kind of how these games work. They're high stakes. It's the same with a lot of strategy games too. They're high stakes. You're thinking through your actions, and If you mess up, then there's consequences to that. I get the impression that this game was built to be played on and off over like a year or two, as you do a playthrough and you fail, and then you do a playthrough again a couple months later, and you get way further and you figure out a couple of the more obtuse bits and progress the story along other ways. And then maybe you don't quite get there, and then you do it again, and then you get the normal ending, and then your friend tells you, oh, if you do XYZ, and then that triggers the true ending. You're like, whoa, really? So it's very dense. It's just big. I think actually exploring the full possibility space of this game on your own would take like 100 hours. It's just massive.
Yikes!
Not in a bad way. Like it moves briskly, and every single area on the map, every one of these countries and whatnot, they basically are like, I suspect that this probably isn't as robust as, I don't know, Romance of the Three Kingdoms or like the other big Koei grand strategy games. I don't know because I haven't touched them. There are ways that I was able to kind of break the game once I played it. I made 2 playthroughs where I got pretty far without looking at guides, where I just kind of took my losses. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I actually want to finish this. And then I looked at some guides to figure out their way through to the normal ending. And there's a couple ways you can kind of break it that are like, oh, okay, so this is very doable. But what's cool to me is that it's using the shape of this grand strategy game as just like, we're going to have just 30 stories going on. Just a bunch of characters, a bunch of little arcs. A bunch of them are like really cool and well done. There's some kind of big ideas with some of them. None of them are like super fleshed out. None of them are going to be like a big VN catharsis at the end of them, but they're all cool and fun. It's just constant, varied, fun story. It's like, oh, I'm going through here. These different towns have different little stories. This one pulls from this character from Rance 3. This one pulls from this character from Rance 2. This one is a new character, and they have this relationship, and they just get all of these dynamics across in like brief cutscenes at the start of turns, or when you conquer a city. And like they have a bunch of little systems going on. It's not too hard to kind of get your handle on it. And then once you kind of familiarize yourself with the systems, it just becomes this constant dynamic story delivery mechanism where everything goes differently depending on choices you make. At the end, when you game over or when you beat the game, there's a tally of good ends and bad ends for different characters. Everybody has a unique... a bunch of the lady characters have unique good ends and bad ends, to be clear. And it's impossible to get all good ends for every character in one playthrough. Like, you're always picking and choosing, not like consciously, just through your actions. The story is constantly like branching out. And it's just really cool. It's just a really cool, fun way to deliver all of these different stories. And the meat of the story is you conquering the human world, and that's like very open-ended, and you can tackle it in a bunch of different ways. And at the end, you tackle the demon world, which has been like very built up and is very intimidating. And the end game is basically like 10 different boss monsters with their own armies that all have their own story scenarios, and you can maybe beat them just by attacking them. A lot of them are like almost every scenario in the game has like 4 or 5 ways to complete it. Like the Kingdom of Zeth has these towers around the capital that protect it from armies attacking it. And then there's like 3 or 4 different ways. If you recruit the leader of Zeth to your side, then he can break down the capital. If you get a special sword from this temple, that can break through the thing. It's just like this constant network of different choices, all playing out in this very high stakes environment, with characters that I've grown to care about, because it's these characters from the last 6 games. And it's just, June says, doesn't Rance 10 have the largest video game script ever? I wouldn't be surprised. It's just it was very fun and cool to engage with starting out, and then it was very fun and cool to engage with and then play through to the normal ending this time, because again, that end game boss gauntlet is so cool. It's just like 10 different monsters that all have their own like gimmick and story to them, that's with a bunch of different like alternate solutions.
Oh wow.
It's very obtuse. I played it closely and still just got to a point where I had no idea how to progress things, and then I reverted to an earlier save and started following a guide. But a guide isn't even just telling you, here's what you do. It's telling you, you can do this or this or this or this.
Yeah. Like, you can't really move for move one of those kinds of games.
Mm-mm. It was very impressive. It made sense to me that this was like one of the this basically lit the world on fire lit Japan on fire,
right,
when it came out, and they kept selling it at for $80 until 10 years later.
Wow.
At which point they made it freeware along with the entire rest of their back catalog.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I've actually been playing all of these games legally.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is. The Rance never builds to big emotional catharsis moments.
No.
Like,
does he?
Go ahead.
Does he build to something else?
Build to a climax or 12.
I really like the jokes, and I really like the porn, and that's because I'm a degenerate. So I'm not. Okay. That is why I've marathoned all these super closely. I am not trying to sell anyone on these games.
No.
Because the jokes and the porn and the constant rape stuff is imbued in its DNA throughout. Again, like, the tone of it feels different from me, from like something really from like, I can think of some very grody VNs, where it's just like, or again, it's like the way I phrased it at one point, where it's sort of like the whole world is a king scene.
Yeah.
Where it's just like not real and jokey, which is offensive, of course.
But
it gives it a different.
It's less offensive because I feel that it's not grounding itself in like a weird, maybe horror reality that you would get from like some of those really grody VNs that you mentioned.
Yeah, like Urobuchi VNs.
Like
those are reveling in trying to create a reality of their violence and then getting off on it.
Yeah, this is totally different.
Yeah, whereas this is just it's very playful.
Yeah,
with its gross porn. And that's I think that makes it more. I think that's probably part of why it's so palatable to a larger audience. So. Again, not trying to push anyone towards these games because it's a lot. That's my takeaway with the porn, and so it's the big takeaway here is that this is a series of RPGs and really adventure game, RPG, strategy game. Like, these constantly change up their vocabulary and how they do fighting, how you play them. That changes from game to game, every game, and it keeps doing that up to now. Like, 6 is a first-person dungeon crawler. 7 is a grand strategy game. 8 is a top-down, like, quest-based dungeon crawler where the mate that's mostly focused on, like, side quests. 9 is an SRPG. Like, it's constantly shifting up its vocabulary. The outside of, like, maybe Kichikuo Rants, I think of the first arc of the classic games, none of them are like really great or like solid as dungeon crawlers or whatnot. Like 3 and 4, almost all the fights are just basically trivially easy until like one end game fight that's really, really hard. And so it's not like, oh, here are these masterpiece video games. It's more like that, here are these games that are interested in RPG language and adventure game language and video game language and using it as a vehicle for just a bunch of very dumb, goofy adventures. And they're just going to pack every bit of it and every scene of it with character interactions and story and jokes. And that feels so different from a lot of old RPGs.
Yeah.
Like it's just almost a completely different vibe. It feels like a modern indie game in a lot of ways, where it's just focused on delivering those stories to you.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the story doesn't take itself seriously. It's just it is just having fun with the adventures and the jokes and the porn.
Yeah.
And it's just a vibe I really like. I'm really appreciating it, and I'm very excited that I have a bunch more games to play. So
live that bliss.
I'm glad that I played it this way instead of like trying to follow like the chronological, like the release, not the like oh, I can skip this one because it's not canon. I can I can jump. I'll just start at 6 or start at Sengoku. I feel like these games benefit so much from their continuity, and I feel like I've benefited a lot from just playing them the way that I have.
Yeah.
So that's the After Hours Corner. Probably won't be an update for a little bit. So yeah, honestly that's it. The only other thing that I did was that I finished Ducktales 2017, and the finale absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah. Need to actually probably pick up Disney Plus and watch that now.
Yeah. Ducktales is basically like Grants in the sense that it is a vehicle for delivering these fun adventures.
Yes, exactly.
And so much porn.
Oh God, life is like a hurricane.
I mean, you know how ducks are about sex, right?
I mean,
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it should be illegal to have a podcast like this. Oh man.
but the I will say, like, a big hook in the final season is just a villain. The main kind of central villain sort of defines themselves by not being a big supervillain and by not liking adventures or silly things, and by being very pragmatic and competent. Instead,
that's fun.
And it's sort of the way that character like sort of almost defines himself in opposition to the essence of the show, in the way that the big villains like Magica and whatnot don't, was very juicy, and I really enjoyed how that played out in the finale. I'm very satisfied with how it wrapped up. I think it was they kept pulling in fun Disney Afternoon stuff right up to the end. They can tell you just how completely in love they are with the whole canon and the comics.
Yeah.
And like again, this isn't one to watch for, big a serial anime that builds one big story over a season. This is just a bunch of really good episodes and then a handful of nice threads that develop throughout that. And just every frame of it is full of joy.
You'll like to hear that. You'll like to hear that coming out of something Disney related, seeing as how Disney seems like the most soulless bullshit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like don't worry, this will never happen again.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like this is probably just the most ridiculously like one-off thing we're gonna see for the next 5 years.
5 years? Absolutely. You're being so generous.
I'm trying to be more of an optimist these days.
Disney Plus is like, we are making MCU content, and that's it.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so dreary. The only Disney things I've engaged with for the last year were DuckTales 2017 and Tangled the series, and I loved both of them. There have to be parts of the canon, parts of the machine that are less scrutinized and less under the thumb of the corporate overlords, where they're somehow allowed to squeeze in actual art in around the edges.
Yeah.
And those are where I've had fun.
Nice.
So, Rhett.
Oh, right. Forgot it was me up next.
How do you follow that up?
Gosh, I forgot what I was going to follow. I've also been watching some anime lately.
Hey, imagine that.
So I mentioned to you guys earlier how like a lot of the games I've been playing are like sequels or like spiritual successors or just, follow-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And then I accidentally did the exact same thing with anime.
Oh. Just going back to pure comfort level, huh?
Well, it was just... Okay, so I'll start one that I finished last night. So a couple days ago, I loaded up Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Netflix is always... You look around for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You maybe add something to your wish list and you go, I'll watch that later. And then later never comes.
Yeah.
And then I've noticed my wish list... Not wish list, but like watch later. It gets a little shorter over time because stuff will leave Netflix.
Rhett, we got somebody talking about the Project N33 boss in chat right now.
What?
Okay. Hexavod says, CRA3 from Project N3 is probably the only iconic boss in the N3 timeline if you're not counting FX and Ether's ship.
Okay.
I just thought that's the wildest, weirdest thing I've seen pop up in chat before. Thank you, though.
I love that boss.
Yeah, it's a great boss.
Yeah. I think you
have a lot of iconic time.
I think all the crab bosses are my favorite.
all the crab.
I like the rival fight in 3.
I thought the rival fight was 2. Oh, there's both the games.
Yeah,
actually.
both games. Yeah.
I like every boss in 3-3. Anyways,
I'm sorry, that jumped out at me in chat, and it's just like, I gotta call that out. That's pretty cool.
So I'm browsing Netflix, usually never actually end up watching anything, and then I saw, Beastars Season 2 is up. Mm-hmm. I'll watch that. And I actually did.
Oh, tell me about this. I'm still kind of interested in this
Okay,
series.
Are you? Okay, I will just be real upfront here.
Okay.
Season 2 had 2 moments that made me think, John would like this. just things that are in there. Should I just say what they are?
Okay, yes, please. I'm listening.
One of them in Season 2 is gigantic, extremely intimidating snake woman. And I was like, oh my god, this is a John jam.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is extremely homoerotic vor scene.
Oh Lord.
I was just like, wow, this is...
Got a brand here. You got a brand.
Is a lot. Yeah. So yeah, Beast... I don't have a ton to say about it. I kind of want to blast through some stuff quickly, but Beastars Season 2, it's a follow-up to the original. I don't think I liked it as much as Season 1 because they kind of lay off the romance element a bit much in this one. Like, the rabbit is not nearly in it as much. It really focuses on the 2 guy characters and, like, the past that they're going through. They literally do, like, a whole, like, Path of Light, Path of Darkness story arc for both of them. And it resolves in a pretty cool way, though. And, like, they follow up some stuff that was left hanging at the end of Season 1. Mm-hmm. And then there's not a whole lot actually kind of up in the air at the end of this one, so it feels fairly, like, complete, even though I think the manga did keep going. And I think I saw, like, people actually really hated the ending of the manga. Mm-hmm. Like, there were some cheap cop-out solutions to things, but this is a show I never thought I'd be into, but I'm like, would still be here to watch,
Yeah, I did not see this being the thing.
Yeah. It's just really well made. Like, the animation, it's CG animated, and they have the furry characters. Mm-hmm. just they give them such good distinct faces.
I keep getting it mixed up with Brand New Animal.
Yeah. No, yeah. Brand New Animal was the Trigger one. This is the CG animated one.
Yeah.
I forget what studio they did. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that.
What were you gonna say?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, sorry. Like, they are kind of the studio that's doing it is like top of the line as far as like CG animated stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because most like Netflix has a ton of like CG animated anime, and people like universally hate it.
It looks real bad, and the stories aren't very good. Yeah,
but everyone like universally loves this studio.
Yeah,
like the show is just so fucking sharp looking and well directed, and like the fact that they're giving these animal faces like so much character and personality and like recognizability, because like there will be like multiple characters of the same species and they all look different, but they all are recognizable as like wolves or whatever they are. And it seems like such a hard thing to do. Like the character design is just so good. And like the main red deer, Rui, he's extremely cool, and I don't say that about many male characters, honestly.
Yeah, I can't think of very many. Like, if I had to name, like, 5 male characters that Rhett likes or be shot in the head, I'd be dead.
You'd be dead. So yeah, this was just a show I kind of... I mean, it's only 12 episodes, so I did it in, like, 3 or 4 nights. It was just like, yeah, had a good time with it. But season 1 ended on a much bigger, kind of dramatic arc. And that always counts a lot for me.
Yeah.
I also watched Zombieland Saga Season 2, finally.
I thought you didn't like the second season.
Well, I put it down until it finished airing, because I was watching it... Like, I started watching it week to week, and the first, like, 5 or 6 episodes were either not good...
Ooh.
Like, I really still kind of don't like the direction they went at the very start, where just, like, they kind of hit the reset button. And that was a bummer. Which is not great. And then, like, the story arcs they do for the first couple episodes are, like, focused on characters that already got attention in season 1. It's like they do, you know, a Lily episode. They do a Junko and I episode. They do a Saki episode. And, like, most of them I was feeling were kind of inferior to what they had done in season 1 on top of that. So I was just like, I'm just going to put this down for a bit. So the show finished. I watched the second half, and I think it picked up a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, I would still also say preferred season 1. But this one definitely won me over by the end. Because, like, they do arcs for characters that didn't get much focus in season 1. They do one that's, like, set 100 years ago.
Oh. Huh.
Because there's zombies, and one of them was very old when not very old when she died, but she died a long time ago.
Yeah.
So they do a story arc for her, and it's like in feudal Japan, because I think it's like 1880s or so. Yeah, they do expand the Zombieland Saga lore a lot in this one, and it's pretty fucking wild.
So it's not like a horse girl anime. They do dig into the lore.
I mean, the lore is that... I mean, I'm not going to say, but it's like... You didn't know why they were zombies before, besides the fact that they died, but you don't know how they came back to life, and they give kind of a half answer to that. So it's not, like, entirely a mystery anymore, but it's like, it's still very strange.
Right.
Because it's basically magic. There's magic in this world.
Yeah!
And then, so the final arc just ends with just... The last episode just is like an Idol concert.
Oh, good. My favorite.
Of course.
Well, for me, it was like, you know, season 1 was an Idol show. This one's really not much of an Idol show. Because, like, there haven't been that many musical performances, and then the last episode has just 3 in a row. It's just like, if this is what you're here for, fucking you're feasting right now. It's just, what if we just animated an entire concert, basically? So it's very good. I was like so down for that. And then the last like 5 seconds is this insane season 3 tease.
Oh God. cucked out of an ending.
So the story is not over. I mean, it ends, like, the season 2 arc ends,
right?
And everybody's happy, and then a thing happens, and then you're immediately going, what the what?
So they trails SCU.
Pretty much. So it's like, I hope they do a continuation, and it'll probably take like 2 or 3 years like it did last time. It's to the nature of when if they announce next season, that they have to kind of reveal what it's going to be based on what had just happened. That people that don't watch the show are going to be extremely confused if they go in the direction that I'm thinking it's going to go.
Gotcha.
And then the last anime, I think I'm going in the backwards order that I actually watched them. The first thing that got me back into watching anime is not an anime at all. It's Thunderbolt Fantasy Season 3.
Right. Fuck yes. Fuck yes.
So unfortunately, there is another trend here where I didn't like it as much as Season 2.
Oh.
Because Season 2 just, I don't know, it just hit just the right spot for me, where it was just a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more unpredictable.
Because I still haven't watched that one, so that's still one for me. Cool.
Because Season 1 was like the very kind of straightforward fantasy fairy tale, where it's like they spend like half the show collecting party members, and then they like have the big 3-step, like, here's how we get to the final boss, his tower. And then it kind of subverts that a bit at the end. But it's like they kind of lay out how things are going to go, and then they stick to it for the most part. And then Season 2 is kind of chaos and like factions and characters betrays and stuff. It's very fun. Season 3 is a lot of, hey, everyone is back. Everyone that survived is back.
Oh.
And like it brings in characters from the movies that are also, so it's like it's a big whole thing now. But I don't like the whole premise location wise. A lot of it takes place in like, what's it called? Like the Void Junction. And they have these mirrors that can like teleport them around the universe. So like distance doesn't exist anymore, and it just kind of feels a little cheap.
Okay.
But then they also do things like travel to the past or travel to the end of time. So there are some fun things that they do with it.
But it largely feels like a way to kind of condense the world a little bit, so we don't have to do much traveling or kind of showing more of the world.
Yeah, definitely. Like there definitely feel like there are less sets in this one. And like the whole big thing in Season 2 is that they basically travel to the other side of China.
Yeah.
And like there's this huge mountain range that's like controlled by demons that's supposed to make it uncrossable. And then they cross over, and it's a huge thing. And then now they're just teleporting back and forth like nothing. It's just like, oh, okay, fine. Because they had to be able to do that to get back to some locations from the first half. But it feels like a cop-out for sure.
Gotcha.
And then the opening animation so transparently shows what the final boss is going to be.
Oh.
And then I think that fight kind of didn't live up to that hype either. But it's a good time. Like, I will definitely keep watching, and I feel like there's a chance that Season 4 seems to be building towards a finale now.
Oh.
Which is not something I had ever thought about for the series, because the way Season 1 revealed itself at the end of like what the main character is trying to do was basically a setup for infinite stories.
Yeah, that was the vibe I got.
Yeah, so like so in 2 seasons they've gone to like, oh, you could just tell infinite stories with this premise, to okay, here's what the end game starts to look like, which is fine. Like I could deal. I think 4 seasons would be 4 or 5 sounds like a good fit for it. So that's the animated programs I've been watching. Also, the puppetry is still just kind of amazing, like what they do with those things.
I'm glad they've kept that up, because like I know, like if they're cutting down on sets, you have to think like maybe they're cutting anywhere else, because maybe it's like somebody's like, okay, maybe the show's run its course and we're kind of giving them less production money or something. So you kind of hope that at least the puppetry stays on course, right?
Like I haven't, since it's been a bit since I watched the other seasons, I can't like immediately compare them in my mind, but it's still like it's fascinating. It's so wild what they do. Like
it's just so pretty.
It's so pretty.
Cool.
So yeah, Thunderbolt
Thanks for the update there.
Is still very cool.
Cool.
You said watch season 2, then watch the movies?
The movies are weird because I don't think the release order is the best fit for them.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So, like, I would say season 1 first is the most important thing, though, because of the reveal at the end of what Shang is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then the first, so there's a season 1 movie that's weird because it's 2 stories. The first half is a flashback about characters from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second half is a jokey recap of season 1. So, like, that one is fine watching it next. But then there's season 2, and then the season 2 movie takes place before anything else. Like, the season 2 movie is the start. So I think, and there's characters in that then continue on to be in season 2. So I'm like, kind of feel like I should have watched that one first.
Okay,
But
so the season 2 movie might need to be before season 2?
that's, yeah, like, I think
Okay.
either order would work. I did it the other way because that's just how they were released.
Okay, cool.
But I don't think one will ruin the other for you either way you watch it.
Cool. That makes sense to me.
Yep. And then season 3 is obviously kind of the latest thing now because it brings in all those characters. I wonder if they're going to do a season 3 movie because that seems to kind of be the rhythm they've been in. But that's for another day because this just finished airing, so there's definitely nothing else out yet. Polly!
Okay, I've got 2 big ones.
Give me your big one.
Rat.
Give it to me.
I was just gonna sit there and let I've got 2 big ones land, but just like Rhett went, man. You went whole hog on my big one.
Give it to me.
We have reached the end of a saga. Ladies and gentlemen, I now live in a post-Sympho Gear world.
The hell Rhett's been in for...
Yes, we reached the end of the saga. I watched Sympho Gear XV or 15? Is it XV or 15?
I mean, it's definitely XV.
Yeah, I know.
I think, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, look. I don't have to give you much setup for a Sympho Gear season because Sympho Gear, like, when they hit season 2, it's just like, look, here's the formula. We're going to give you your bad guys up front. Here it is, yada yada. Let's frame everything around that. Okay, good. So, we'll just kind of start getting into the bits and bobbles about the season then. Let's just get it going. See, I guess, like, this season, I guess, like, the best part is that the overall story and the plot have way more room to breathe now.
Okay.
Because like, save for wrapping up like one character's own personal family drama, this season doesn't have much need to kind of like slow down and address much in terms of like character development and backstories. Like, these characters are fully fleshed out and developed now.
Yeah.
Like, we know what makes them tick. We know what drives them. So we ain't got to slow down or sidetrack. So we just kind of jump right in and get presented with what will be, like, the central point of conflict right up front, which is a group called the Noble Red Faction. And they're sort of like the remnants of the previous seasons of Bavarian Empire, or Bavarian Illuminati. And we'll get into some bits and bobbles about how the entire fucking world history kind of works. So that's kind of like your main big dish here. Again, it's kind of like, you get like 3 interesting and cool antagonist characters for the main characters to fight. And they do something really cool this season by turning your expectations on your ear about what these kind of encounters mean and what these types of antagonists mean, have come to mean in this series. Because it's always just kind of been, oh, hey, super hard boss fight, basically, where, the characters are going to smash against each other, they're going to do a lot of cool moves, it's going to be a lot of rad stuff, and you get a lot of that. Like, that's all still going to happen. But there is a way that these new characters are kind of written and fit into this story, and the way that they are, that kind of flips that expectation, that it really kind of made me like how they play out over the course of the season. There's a lot more, I guess, desperation with these characters, where it's just a dynamic that this series has not played with its antagonists before, that I think is really, really, really cool. I guess, but like, what these antagonists, like, they may not be like the most threatening, I guess. Like, they're still a threat, but I don't think that they're quite as threatening as some of the crazy ass shit that we got, especially like in seasons 3 and 4. I guess I'd say that, like, what these characters are capable of setting into motion is like the biggest, most stakesy confrontation that this world and these characters have ever faced. So it's really exciting, and the way they tie together all of that with, like, these juicy emotional trump cards that they have, by pulling on certain strings, I guess. Certain characters maybe being pulled into situations that we're not used to seeing pulled into, and it makes the entire back half of the season feel like this weird, dangerous tightrope walk above a pit of absolute fucking tragedy.
That second half of the show that you watched in a single evening.
I was just watching this in 3-episode bursts when I started. So when I got to, like, the third night and I got to episode 9, I think, like, so I did, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, I was just like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go grab dinner, and I think we just kind of have to fucking shotgun the rest of this, because you reach a point.
I know exactly where it was, too.
You reach a point in this season where shit gets so real that it's just like, I don't want to wait to see how this plays out, because this is the fucking wildest you've gotten with your stakes, and I love it.
Yeah. There's stakes this season.
There's finally. Oh my god, and it's such it's so big and loud, and like, it's the kind of stakes that you've wanted this series to have, and they're finally doing it. And that's kind of like, I feel it like that's the theme with this season in particular, is like them just doing a bunch of shit that I've wanted them to do the whole time, and they're finally just letting loose and turning the volume up to 27.
Yeah, it's so loud.
Everything. And again, because they don't have to spend time on anything else, the story's allowed to just breathe and not get pulled away from these big, meaty parts that you're here for. Like, the stakes, the action, everything just keeps ramping up to these big, stupid, satisfying levels. Like, at all times, it's just a constant ramp upward. And it's just like, the series has never reached like this before. So like, when you get to the last half of that season and it's doing all of these ridiculously crazy and stupid, fun, fantastic things, I was literally sitting there laughing the whole time at how big and ridiculous this show kept getting. Like, I feel that, like, if you're a fan of Symphogear, they're literally giving you everything they can.
Aww.
Like, if you stuck it out to this point, all 5 seasons, there are these just big, complete, fuck yes moments that they keep smacking you over the head with, and they land so damn well because they've spent 5 seasons, like, letting that anticipation build up. And it just completely and confidently, like, sticks the landing on the climax and the conclusion. Like, they managed to get their big, over-the-top, fucking wild, bonkers, banana climax, but they also get this nice, like, really understated and subtle moment that doesn't need words to resonate. So like, I think you kind of have to say that, like, this is the best season of Symphogear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Like, you feel the love in every frame of animation that is happening. You hear it in the actors and actresses who are putting everything into these performances that are just like, it's operating on a level that this series has not either been able to, or they just didn't think to. Like, it's this stupidly loud and fantastic send-off that's just a loud and joyous, like, celebration of everything that the show has been and, like, what it stands for. Like, I don't understand being a Symphogear fan and not liking what this did. And because it was just out of the world. Like I would say that I'm like the 7 out of 10 Symphogear fan.
Uh-huh.
Like, I would put this series mostly operating at a 7 out of 10 when I like it, which is like 3 and 4. And then the last season is literally like 9 out of 10 good for me. Like, it's just so, like, there's just utter joy in everything, and it comes through, like, it's very similar to me with Danganronpa V3, where I really felt the people, like, you feel the emotions of the people that put that together. At least I did.
Yeah.
And when I watched this, I got the same thing. It's like the people that wrote and are animating and acting this all love this thing so much that they are all putting a piece of themselves into it, and it makes it feel that much more important and resonant. So, kudos to Symphogear. It's an incredible final season.
Yes. It's so much. And, like, there's the whole story about, like, every transformation was animated by one animator who that was their favorite character, so they wanted to do their transformation.
That's so nice.
And like I said, like, the acting and the way that these characters, like the way that these actresses were throwing themselves into these scenes, just way more than before. Just not caring about the fact that you might be shredding your vocal cords for these performances. But it like, everybody putting everything that they had into that just makes this season land even more. Like, I don't know how they could have written a better ending to this show. Like, it's exactly as it needs to be. Everything is in its right place, I think.
It's inexplicably a conclusion to everything that has come before, even though the first 3 seasons seem so disconnected from each other, really.
Yeah.
Besides,
when they started kind of connecting the seasons a bit more with 3, 4, and 5, is when I feel they finally got their legs under them and knew what to do with this series. And that's really, like, where it resonates for me most. Like, I still don't look back at 1 and 2 and think that much of them, unfortunately.
Oh, you liked 1. Everyone's so mean to 1.
I equate 1 to that fun time. Like, it's a fun type of anime that you watch, and it's not bad, but it's not a favorite.
It has such 2000s energy.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I think that, like, 3, 4, and 5 capture that energy even more, but they're a more, like, instead of just being a feeling from that time, it can feel like a show that is actually from that time.
See, I think they're especially 5 is too well animated for that. Like, it's so gorgeous.
I'm talking more in terms of just the way the story plays out, the way that, like, because there's, you know, like, I think you can look at a lot of shows, especially from, like, 2007 and 2008, they gave you a very specific feeling, and that is what XV gave me.
Okay.
I remember you specifically talking about how 2007 was just, like, a favorite anime year. For a
yeah.
It's a banger of a year.
2007 is amazing.
Yeah. There's just so much good shit from there. But yeah,
I think the thing about the season is like it still couldn't exist as it is without the previous ones, especially 4.
Yeah, because it needs that.
Because 4 was like, hey, we're gonna do character arcs for some of these characters that haven't gotten a lot of attention, so that we don't need to in the next season.
Yeah, the fact that they don't need to pump the brakes and do much of that stuff.
Yeah.
Really like it's the one season where I felt like I didn't need 3 more episodes. Whereas, like, 3, 4, and 5, I felt all needed 2 or 3 more episodes to kind of make everything work pacing-wise. Yeah. Whereas XV is just like, it is a 13-episode bullet train.
It really is. Like, the way it starts out is like, and the way the villains have to operate at the start is like,
yeah,
we've got 4 seasons under our belt now. You're dealing with level 99 Symphogears who have, like, gone through their character arcs. They're at the top of their game.
Yeah.
The villains now, they have to cheat and play dirty to win. And it's a very...
I love that endeared... That... I would like... The villains this season endeared themselves to me through needing to operate the way that they did. Basically almost fucking being jobbers to some degree.
Yeah. They definitely are. Like... But, like... It's fun because it makes the heroes not weak.
Yeah, like, you finally get that moment where these characters are fully realized and confident in their abilities. There's no self-doubt anymore. So, like, and these characters need to be there for this show's conclusion and what it is and what they're up against to work. Yeah. That's why everything works here. It's so, like, for me, the progression really does feel like 3, 4, and 5. That's where it all feels like it started to come together for me. 1 and 2, I just don't feel the build. It feels more concrete and focused, 3, 4, and 5, leading up into this ultimate conclusion and these characters getting to where they needed to be in order to deal with what they need to deal with at the end of this show.
Cool.
So yeah, I put me in. I you can call me a Symphogear stan. I'll take it.
Would you advise the audience to do the one thing I've wanted to say forever? Would you say you should watch Symphogear?
With the caveat that I think seasons 1 and 2 are not very good, and and asking somebody to watch 26 episodes of anything until it gets good is an ask. So that is a hard thing for me to say. I would have to recommend this show to somebody and explain to them that it ultimately gets where it's going, but you might need to struggle a little bit with those first 2 seasons.
I think season 1 ends extremely well.
1 ends extremely well. I like season 2's climax. So it's not like those first 2 seasons are completely without merit. That's not what I'm saying. I just think that...
Yeah.
In terms of being a complete package of each season being its own show, 3, 4, and 5 are heads and shoulders above 1 and 2.
Okay.
So that
I feel what you're saying about season 1, Rhett, where like I played season 1 where like I didn't love it, but like the ways that it was, even the ways that I didn't really, even the ways it felt really messy were kind of endearing. Because it had, like, that kind of joyful, sloppy, we're just making cool shit that we like. Mm-hmm. It like, felt a little bit, like, Newgroundsy to me in a fun way, or, like, webcomic-y.
I think season 5 is, like, the same thing where it's, like, we're putting ourselves into this and making a show that we love, except we're extremely good at it now.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I think season 1 and 5 are actually the most similar.
I can actually see that. Yeah.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, I think that you've got that same kind of excitement. It's just with season 5, it's honed to a level that we can take that excitement and we know how to wield it properly.
There's just such a masterful execution.
Oh, I would call XV nothing but masterful.
Cool. Oh, I've waited so long for this.
Like, I'm happy to have taken this journey. I am actually happy to have done. I initially did it because I wanted to be able to appreciate a thing my best friend likes. Aww. I wanted to at least understand what he gets out of it. So the fact that I came out the other side of it, actually just enjoying it myself, is just, hey, another cool thing that we have in common that we both like.
Yay. Oh, I think I said on Anime of the Decade that like season 5 was like 80% of my love for the show. So at that point, I figured like, okay, let's look at my scores on my anime list. So like 10, 8, 9, 8. Okay, so XV would have to be like 400 or so. I think 400 out of 10 would be about the score I'd give it. I really like the last season.
I like, if I was to rewatch, like, I would actually probably rewatch season 5 again, like, very soon, because I like it a lot. It's just a very good, like, where I feel that season 4 had these moments that felt very Black Lagoon, it, like, just in terms of big action set pieces and being very loud, I would watch XV again for all of that again, because that shit's real fun.
Yeah. It just starts and just doesn't really stop until it's done.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so fucking good.
Like, you told me the other day, like, or a couple weeks ago, like, I'm not going to watch it in 2 days. And then you watched it in 3.
I literally watched it in 3.
So
yeah.
close.
Like, I realized that, like, going into that final evening, it was just like, man,
you did, like, 337.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, man, there's just, I didn't see any way to stop. Like, there was just no, like, when they hit me with what they hit me with at the end of that run of episodes, it was just like, fuck, I can't stop here.
Oh, give me 1 second because I want to look up something.
Okay.
Like, they do a thing with the naming of the episodes in season 5 that I thought was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in season 1, this is what I'm looking up. It doesn't have the episode names. You got to be kidding me. Okay, I'm pretty sure in every season, like in season 1, episode 12, the second to last one is called Symphogear.
Yeah.
And then I think the other seasons do that as well, where like episode 12 is named after the season.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then in XV, episode
8 is named XV.
So like that's the level they're at, where they're at like the end game by episode 8.
Yeah, that's actually what, like, when I saw that episode's name, I kind of thought that that's what they were going with too. It's just like, oh, we've actually kind of pushed up the end game here. We're going in, like, because I noticed that naming scheme as well.
They're pushing their chips forward, saying all in,
and these last like 5 episodes are going to blow your fucking wig back.
Yep. Episode 8 is so amazing.
Oh, man, there's so much going on by that point. Oh, God.
Because, like, it's hard to understate how much loud action is happening. Yeah. Because, like, almost every episode has 2 fights now.
Yeah, it's great.
So, like, episode 8 starts with a huge, big thing, and then there's a whole other 6-member fight at the back half. It's just, like, it just doesn't let up.
Love it.
Like, Noble Red is funny because from like episodes 2 through 5, like the really start, they get like more fights in than the Illuminati does in the previous season.
Yeah.
You watch season 4 now, it's like the Illuminati, oh, we don't have our Faustros yet. We have to retreat. Like, they keep holding back the big fights. And this one, they just immediately are fighting them like twice an episode.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. That's good TV, though. Good TV. Enjoy it.
I can't imagine watching this on TV and having to wait a week for each fucking episode.
I was trying to put myself in the mindset, especially the back half of the season, of just like, oh my fucking God.
I watched the entire show during the time between episodes 12 and 13 aired.
Woo!
Because basically I watched the first six, and then I realized, oh my fucking God, 13 doesn't air for like 5 more days.
Oh.
So for the next like 4 days, I rewatched those first 6, and then I just marathoned the end. And I watched like 13 like an hour after it aired.
Oh God.
Like, I timed it perfectly.
Wow.
But like, because I know people now that have been following this show since the beginning.
Yeah.
And they were losing their mind while XV was airing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but again, it is a journey I'm glad I took. Happy to have done it. Came out. I my time investment was entirely worth it.
It's a pretty long show. I mean, as far as ones we watch. Like, I don't do the whole.
I don't watch those at all. So for me to put 60 episodes into something says a lot. I think. I mean, I saw a My Anime List review, because those are always funny, of a dude that gave XV a 1. And then complained about hate watching 65 episodes of a series. I'm just like, dude, go the fuck outside.
Oh my! This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I looked at the My Anime List page for XV. Mm-hmm. I see the 1 out of 10 review. The person has a fucking Sakura avatar. I'm sorry, John. That's so funny to me.
Oh, that's so on point.
Lord. I wasn't gonna ask Polly, does it feel like the heavens feel of Symphogear?
I don't. I wouldn't know.
Oh, okay.
The person right below that review gave it a 10 and has a Neptunia avatar.
That feels on point as well.
That feels
karmically
just so
correct.
on the nose.
I'm sorry.
Oh man.
No, it's the soccer avatar. It's just so funny.
I did not notice that when I saw that review. I was just so enthralled with somebody like wasting like 50 hours of their life to watch something they hate because they want to write a review about it. Like, dude, touch grass, please.
Touch grass is great, dude.
I'm glancing at their other reviews. They give a lot of 1s, apparently.
Yeah, they seem to be just one of those fucking people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Symphogear's
good.
A member of the Symphogear hater.
For other shows, not just every season of Symphogear, other shows.
Yeah. All right. Symphogear's good, but we have to move on now. The saga is over. I live in a post-Symphogear world.
We still got 2. We hopefully, God willing, we'll have 2 more seasons to talk about on here.
Maybe.
Yep.
We know how John is.
Then it'll be over.
John's very
Forever.
good. John's very good at sticking with things. We know that, especially from this episode. So
it's true.
All right.
All those arcade games.
I got one more thing. I know that we're starting to run a little long here. I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can, but it's kind of a big thing because it's one of those. Oh man! Like, this is one of those things I've been waiting for a long time.
Yeah. We gotta luxuriate in this one, Polly.
We gotta. All right.
Oh no!
Permission to luxuriate. All right.
Permission to luxuriate granted.
Yeah.
All right. So I played a little game called World's End Club. This is a new game by a new company called 2Q Games, which I have to say, on paper, they sound like a powerhouse production team. And on this game, we have some very big names. We have Kotaro Uchikoshi and Takumi Nazakawa writing and directing. Takumi Nazakawa has worked a lot with Kotaro Uchikoshi as his co-director on a lot of other things, including the Infinity games. So they have a history together. But this also was supervised by Kazutaka Kodaka, who wrote and created the Danganronpa series. So
we have a relationship with those.
So you can imagine my excitement, one, when Kotaro Uchikoshi and Kodaka both announced that they were creating a company together and that they were going to be making new games together. And you can imagine that excitement coming into World's End Club, a game that was actually halfway released last September on Apple Arcade. I want you to keep that in mind for now. So, I have to actually spoil something about this game up front, because if I don't, I can't talk about this game at all. Okay. There's literally no way. It's something that is actually spoiled in the demo for the game, so if you play the demo, you will be spoiled on this. So, they set this game up initially as another death game. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Danganronpa 3 anime, where they have the bracelets and the tasks. But they have
open with you so far.
But basically, everybody starts out the game. They have a bracelet with a task written on it that somebody else has to do in order to win the game. So to win the game, that person has to find out what their task is, find out who has their task on their bracelet, and you can see how this kind of works now. Like, it'll be a death game where you have to, where people are going to be offing each other. That way they can find out what their task is so that they can go try to do their task, basically. It's a big fake out. It's not a death game at all. And you spend like the first hour of the game sort of doing this death game anyway, because they're just tutorializing you on how the rest of the game works, because this game has platforming and moving your characters around. There's a lot of input delay in this video game. It's going to be a consistent problem throughout the course of me talking about it. So please keep in the back of your mind that this game is a little bit hard to play.
This is Switch only, right?
For now, it's Switch only, and they released the back half of it on Apple Arcade as well. So.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I kind of get the feeling that this game was like halfway done, and they just released half of it because they needed to finance that, because I think Apple paid them the money that they needed to finish the video game. So, so this game is not a death game, and I hate I hate spoiling things, but again, I can't talk about this game. This game is a road trip, and I like road trips. Road trips are fun. So this is a game about 12 characters. They are members of what they call the Go-Getters Club, and they're just some kids that hang out. They're like in 6th, 5th grade. They're having fun. They do their thing. They're on a field trip, and their bus gets hit by a fucking meteor.
Oh.
And then the main characters have ended up on the other side of Japan, somehow. And Japan is also now completely abandoned for some reason. And they need to somehow get themselves back to Tokyo, because that's where everything started, and they hope that by getting back to Tokyo, we can figure out what the fuck is going on. So, it's this big, grand road trip story about getting back to Tokyo, about living out the best years of our lives with our best friends, and just having a good adventure. And the game's kind of broken up into these stretches of little adventures through like various points of Ghost Town, Japan, and like all sorts of really silly and contrived adventures play out. Like, the game sort of has like 2 different tones to it, where there's this road trip adventure stuff where like wacky hijinks play out, and like the tone of that, it feels like a story that's being told to you rapid fire by a child that's making it up as he goes, and he's really fucking excited about it. It's like, and then we found a bicycle that 12 people can all ride at once, and then we flew a spaceship to the robot factory. And everything in this game's story is contrived in that way in the road trip portion. And then there's like the more like serious tone stuff where we're sorting through why the world's abandoned, what's really going on, and there's some sort of heavier things that are affecting the club that they're all sort of dealing with, that sort of unwraps itself over time. So you have these 2 kinds of tones that maybe clash with one another and don't kind of meld as seamlessly together as maybe like, maybe the comedy moments in Danganronpa, but like it's still like a dark and serious story, right? So, but in this game it feels a little more compartmentalized, where those parts don't necessarily always connect perfectly because of the way the story's being told, because it's a story built on contrivances. Yeah. I would equate this, the way this game's entire tone and the way that the characters interact, I would equate it to like a Saturday AM Disney cartoon. And they nail that, and they nail that tone really well. Like the visuals really get this point across. Like, this game's got a really fun and unique and bright, joyful look to it. The music is fantastic. I love this fucking soundtrack. So all of that shit just kind of comes together and is creating this really interesting kind of set of tones that maybe they don't always work together, but they're still impressive nonetheless. And like the story itself, I think it's fine for what it is. Like I don't know that I think I hate it or anything. Definitely like I don't think it's gonna strike and hit as hard as anything like some of the heavier stuff like in Zero Escape or either Somnium Files or even like Danganronpa's heavier moments, because this story just does not get that dark. It's not having to pull big dramatic moments out, for like pulling characters out of the pit of despair or anything like that. There is like darkness and there is sadness in this story, but it's not dwelled on in the same way, because I think that it's for the fact that it's just like it's a bunch of 11 and 12-year-old kids, they're doing 11 and 12-year-old kids stuff, and they kind of they're malleable, they bounce, they move back, they move through things pretty quick. I think the story maybe relies a bit too much on contrivance to write itself out of some pretty hefty plot holes at times, and maybe they weren't all the way thought out. Like, especially towards the end when they use the same plot twist 3 times in 2 hours.
What?
It really just kind of like, it was almost silly by the 3rd time they did it. I was like, all right, what's the 3rd one that's going to do it? Come on, you two. And then it happened. I was like, okay. But again, it's a different kind of story. I can respect that it's lighter in tone. I can respect that maybe it's not going to have that same kind of fidelity. I kind of just wish it was maybe a little bit smarter, though. Because I think that, like, if you're trying to sell this story to kids, I think I think the story maybe underestimates kids a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like.
I also think that this game did not need 2 endings, but I think that this is a result of the fact that there are 2 endings you can get, and you have to get the bad ending in order to continue to the good ending, because if you go the good ending route, they just lock you out. And just say, nope, you can't do this specific action, even though your character is right there. We're just not going to let you because you did not go click the flag on the other route. So it's a game where you have to see everything. And I feel like the only reason they did this is because the Apple Arcade version only released in the game's first half. So they needed to create some kind of hook, and they created just a bad ending / cliffhanger that is just really bad and nonsensical, and it doesn't work. I wish they would have just taken it out, truthfully, because it just doesn't work. It's a non-ending, and it makes that route feel entirely worthless. I wish they would have I wish that they would have just tied all of that stuff in and kept it as a linear narrative, and just kept go ahead. Like, there are points in the story where the characters need to split up and do something. Go ahead and make me see both parts of that, but I don't need this visual novel conceit of like there being another ending or a route. Like, we can still keep it kinetic and make me see both sides of what happened. I just didn't need it to play out like this. Like, just because it's an Inuchi Koshi game, I didn't need, like, an almost flowchart, okay? But they give you one, and it just wasn't needed.
It seems like a running thread in a handful of VNs lately.
Yeah.
Just like, you just don't really need this. And we can just not.
It's just like, and it's also just like, an Inuchi Koshi game, when it uses the timeline, they always contextualize it somehow. Like, he always finds a way to make it a part of the narrative for why it makes sense. And there's just no effort to do that here, because it's literally just video game wrong path that we're forcing you to take.
Weird.
But other than the story, the characters and the interactions are fantastic. Like, they're kids that largely act like kids reacting to a situation that's, like, much bigger than them. And the fact that the story doesn't get, like, Zero Escape, Danganronpa dark kind of keeps it feeling pretty light and innocent for the most part. Like, I love all these characters. They're my children. like even if the overall story like stumbles and feels half baked at the end, like these characters feel nice and genuine, and they all contribute something that like makes the group and each other better as a whole. And it's just really positive about friendship like that, and like actually working shit out with your friends, and like you really do feel that these characters care for one another, and it's just really warm like that the entire way. And I like that. I like all of that stuff just lands for me. Like there are like moments in the story where they just stop at campfires and you can listen to the characters talk to one another and have these little one-off conversations, and it's all optional, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I liked everything about like just getting to spend all of this time with these characters. And even if the story doesn't quite land and stick, you know, like I can at least still hold on to that stuff as a positive in the experience. Unfortunately, something that I cannot speak too highly of is, again, this game has gameplay. This is a 2D platformer. This is a 2D puzzle platformer. In so much that, like, some characters get special abilities, and then, like, you use those to solve very rudimentary puzzles, and it's all just in service of moving the narrative forward. But all the gameplay, one, it feels incredibly bad, because I
not a great start.
I don't know. I don't know how someone at some point didn't say, yo, this input delay is really bad. Like, even undocked, even when I'm playing in handheld mode, it feels like an entire half second for when I press the jump button for the character to jump. So there are a lot of like annoying parts of this game that don't have to be this annoying, but they are, and it's just like timing based boss fights where you've got to like think like an entire half second ahead for when you have to press the button. It just ends up feeling bad, man. Like anytime like they like you know, they send you back to the roadmap / flowchart, like in every node on it's got like, you know, story scene, campfire, action. And anytime action came up, I always kind of died inside a little bit, knowing that I'd have to spend the next 45 minutes playing the video game. Which is an unfortunate thing to have to say about a video game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it, like, most of this game is story. I would say that this is like a 60-40 split. And I've had like 2 or 3 weeks away from it to kind of cool off a little bit about being as angry as I was about having to play this game's gameplay. And to be fair, there is an easy mode that you can turn on that does make some things easier. That it makes them a little less annoying, like the enemies that you're dealing with won't be as aggressive, or they'll just send out really stupid easy attacks that you can counter. So you can do that if you want. I was stupid and didn't, because I have so much pride as a gamer, I guess.
Gamer pride.
That I need to be good at the video game that feels really bad. I guess I just have to show it for some reason. Another big
pro gamer.
Another big problem was, and this is an issue that apparently literally got fixed while I was playing the game.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. So I get to the final boss. I've played through like an 80-minute segment of pure gameplay. Like, they're making you do everything because, hey, like, you learn how to use all the characters' abilities. Use them all now. So I get there. I get to the final boss. It's a really good final boss sequence. Like, I really enjoyed it, despite the fact that the controls were delayed and lagged. I had already gotten used to it enough by this point that I could play the final boss competently, and it was fun. It was interesting. It fit. It worked for what it needed to be. I get to the final cutscene, and the game fucking crashed.
Oof.
And the game and the game auto-saves a lot. So the issue I assumed, okay, I beat the final boss, I just go watch the scene afterward. So I go back, I load the game back up. It patches, by the way. The patch that released while my game crashed was the patch that solved this fucking crash problem, by the way. The game, literally was, I got a notification for this update literally while I was playing the final dungeon, and I was just like, I wonder if that's important. Maybe I should update that. Nah, let's not update. So then I get the crash. The game fucking updates. I go back to the node that says end, because I assume that's where the ending's going to be. No, it's just the credits. There's no specific node on the timeline for me to just watch the ending, but they gave me credit for getting the true ending.
Oh my god.
So, I got real mad. I turned the game off and I did not play it for 2 days. I came back 48 hours later and I did the entire ending sequence again, praying the game did not fucking crash again. Thank for God it did not. And then I get the ending. So yeah, I had to play the fucking entire ending of that game twice because they don't have a node to jump right to the ending. It just jumps you to the credits.
And because it crashed while you're finishing it.
Yeah. It was just absolutely...
That's brutal, Polly. That's really rough.
Just stunningly fucking terrible. I'm killing a bug on my stand. Hold on. There we go. Eat shit, motherfucker. Your guts are now all over this thing of tissues. And now I'm scraping it into the floor.
Okay.
There you go. I see your little guts hanging around, my dude. You are so fucking dead. Holy shit. I killed you good. You piece of shit. Anyway.
We're so mean to insects.
I know, right? We just got a murder live on Twitch.tv.
The Nagatoro. Gotta bully the insects.
There you go. So, like I said, I've had a little bit of time to cool down from my initial reactions to this game. Would I recommend it? I love the characters. I love the art direction. The music fucking slaps. Go listen to this soundtrack, please. The gameplay is a sore spot, but again, there is an easy mode, and they did just recently patch it, so I think they made the crash go away. It's just really uneven. It's disappointing. I'd maybe buy it if it was half off or something. I don't know. I'm going to buy it anyway because, Kotaro Uchikoshi, I'll buy everything that he releases no matter what.
Hey, speaking of news.
Yeah, that's a big one. The Somnium Files, Nirvana Initiative. That's going to be... It looks so fucking cool. I pre-ordered the $120 edition.
Nice.
But... If you like the idea of a fun road trip with interesting characters, and it's got hot jams and a really great visual style, and you don't mind the story maybe not sticking the landing entirely, and that the gameplay may be a bit of a slog, but it's not the finest work you would expect to come from the people behind
this pedigree.
It. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that they're aiming this game at a younger audience, which I have no issue with at all. I was going to play it anyway. It's no big deal. But I feel like either... I don't know what went wrong here. Either it was overscoped and they had to pull back. Either it was intentionally made to be this way because they were making it for the younger set. Or they just didn't know how to make like the kind of video game they wanted to make. I don't know which is the problem here. I'm not going to call it bad, because I'm not going to play something for 16 hours if I absolutely don't like it.
And then replay the ending.
And then replay the fucking ending, because I cared enough to want to know how it ended, and I cared enough to not just YouTube it. So...
that says something.
So, I will say that, yes, some things about this game do stick with me. I probably do like it in the end. But I think I'm just really let down that it wasn't better than it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That pedigree is just real
strong,
and then for it to be kind of mediocre at best.
Yeah. It's just a bummer, like, hopefully, like, maybe they've learned some lessons from this or something. But yeah, like it's got good ideas. It's got a lot of things about it that I do like. So ultimately, I think that keeps me from really disliking it, because, like, again, these characters are really good, and I will stand that fucking soundtrack. It is so fucking good. Like, that soundtrack has no excuse being in the game that it is in for being as good as it is. And yeah, like, I really like the visual direction. Again, it's really eye-catching. But I don't know how people are going to cosplay some of these characters. Holy crap. I saw somebody talking about trying to get wigs made for some of these characters. I'm just like, good fucking luck! That's those characters, those hairdos are fucking wild in that video game. Especially with that, like, this game's got an overjoyous use of color. Somebody was having fun when they were putting together their vision for this game. So, yeah, like, this is what I got complicated feelings on. Like, I don't hate it. I don't 100% love it or want to sing its praises as an entire thing. But there's just a lot I do like about it that will probably, like, let it kind of, like, land positively anyway. But
maybe not land on Game of the Year.
It might not make it. I'm never going to be the one that makes the guarantee here. Like, it might make it, but we've got half a year of stuff, and there are other things currently that I'm looking to play that I'm pretty sure are going to land a little better. So yeah. Complicated feelings on that game, but ultimately I think I'll probably come away with it in a positive light. Just, it's not going to be anywhere near that Zero Escape, the Somnium Files, or Danganronpa pedigree at all. So yeah, I guess that's an episode. I guess we're done. But before we go, John Fire,
I have something.
You got some shit coming up, and I need you to tell us all about it right here and right now. Tell us about all the exciting shit that you've got coming up, like, this week.
Well, so this Friday on the 23rd, I'm releasing a re-release of my RPG Maker game Facets, and then a prequel novel to the book Facets called Wayward.
Yes.
I've been working on the novel for the last 9 months or so. I started in October, and it's like I've had 6 false starts with Facets follow-ups because that game got really stuck in my craw because I really like it a lot. I think it's really good. I wanted to do something more in that world with those characters. And then Wayward was the first one of those that actually kind of lit a fire in me and got me wanting to continue with it. And then I kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And then a couple months ago, I was like, oh, fuck, I have a thing I really like. Basically, Facets was the RPG Maker game I made about being government agents going into a girl's mind and brainwashing her by killing all the different parts of her personality, and all of them are fun, tense boss fights.
Yes.
And over the course of the game, it's revealed that she had a girlfriend who is Lacey. And so the prequel book is about how they met and about her girlfriend's story. Because that was not really detailed. We learn a lot about Alyssa in Facets, but we don't really learn much about her girlfriend. So Wayward is Lacey's story, and it's also Alyssa's story. It's the story of how they met. It's beefy. Like this, it's not like a little tiny follow-up. It's like I worked as hard as I did on Facets as I did on our VNs. And I think it's really good, and I really like it a lot.
I came away. Well, I've already read it. Spoilers, and I think it's really good too.
Yay! Cool. So because I made this extremely good book that I really like, I'm also doing a re-release of Facets, where I fixed a handful of little bugs that never were like major enough for me to care. Basically, and then adding a couple little other corrections and retunings, and then also adding an easy mode, basically, or prepared mode, as it is in the game, where you start off, because in Facets, the only items you have for the bosses and for healing and for MP restoration are items you find in chests around the maps, and they are very finite. So you can potentially get to the end of the game and not be able to win because you used your items too freely. So that's sort of the crux of it, is that I wanted to make the book a little more accessible to friends. So I decided, all right, let's make Facets a little more accessible to friends. And so there's a prepared mode where you start with just a ton of extra healing items, so you're not really under a big resource crunch. And there's active and wait options now, so you can set it to wait mode, which drastically slows down the fights, because I know that was a major issue for a lot of folks, is that the fights move very fast, because I was like, I want to make RPG Maker 2003 fights that are not boring to me. and the way I did that was to make it move extremely fast, and the enemies hit you really, really quick
and hard.
So I was like, I want to make fun bosses, and that was how I did it. It was really hard 60-second, 90-second bosses. So now there's active and wait modes, and I'm also packing in maps.
Nice.
The game maps with the game, and a little notepad with some boss tips. So basically, like, whatever part of this game is terrifying to you, there's a little way around it now.
Nice.
I really liked, so whether that's fighting the mean ATB bosses, or the resource management stuff, or navigating scary door mazes, or all of the above, whatever.
Is there an in-universe explanation for the maps?
The maps are, no, they are separate. They're just a folder with the game.
Okay.
It's like,
sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
And there isn't one for active wait either. I just prepared mode. I did a thing for. The maps are really pretty also, because it's really fun looking at them this way. Because it looks like those pretty maps of like Phantasy Star 2 or whatnot. I look at from afar.
Just like Phantasy Star 2.
Just like Phantasy Star 2.
Exactly like Phantasy Star 2.
Look at them from afar. Admire, never engage.
The beautiful maze of madness.
Only thing it can't get around is that this is it's upsetting material.
Yeah,
like these stories are essentially like a friend described the Facets world as high fantasy conversion therapy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And yeah, that's the gist of it. It's real rough. And real queer, and will probably be especially rough if you're queer like me.
Yep.
But I think it comes from a good place, and I think it's really good. And I hope you give them a look. Come the 23rd, I'm gonna, like I said, I'm dropping a re-release of Facets that'll make it basically however you want to play it, you can now. Mm-hmm. And then 36K word prequel book that goes pretty hard.
Yeah.
In the way we talk about it on the podcast, I think. I'm pretty fucking pleased.
And where can everybody find all of these wonderful works, John Thayer?
Well, you can go to my Twitter at twitter.com/farawaythayer, Thyer, or you can go to farawaytimes.itch.io. And
we'll also be doing a big promotional post for them on the front page of the site, so you won't miss it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, thanks a bunch for that. Mm-hmm. And Rhett, the Snake Lady is easier.
Did you game over for her last night?
I did, but then I fought her again, and then that time I beat her without even getting a single Vor attack off. So I was like, okay, I feel like if you average those together,
that's fine.
It's perfect. It's perfectly. Because before there was no way you could do it. Before she gets at least one munch off.
Munch.
So now
munch squad.
So just Rhett, if you want to take another look.
I'm going to. I promise. Okay. I told Polly earlier. There's no way I can ignore it a second time.
Yeah, that would be that'd be real penis of you, Rhett.
I appreciate it because it's all much. I don't regret releasing Facets the way I did. I like that it was this monolith cursed hell game for a long time.
Like you released Division exactly as you wanted to, and the fact that you're going back and you're doing a revision of that does not take anything away from that at all.
Mm-hmm. I'm very, very kindly. I just want to invite more. I feel like the people that were completely down for that version of it, and the old download is still going to stay on the site. You can still download the original 1.0 version if you just want Cursed Hell game.
And then there's the Game of the Decade version.
And then there's this one that it's still hard and mean and cool, and I've had multiple friends make RPGs that were inspired in part by the game design language and Facets, and that blows my mind. It feels really cool.
That's really cool.
I think mechanically it's like the most influential and like the most inventive thing I've put out. I'm still really fucking proud of it, and I feel a big reason why I kept false starting with follow-ups is because I am so proud of Facets that trying to follow it up was really scary directly. I was worried I would like compromise the world I created there, and I don't think Wayward does that.
I can definitely think of ways that it, like revisiting that world could have ended up kind of like So and you avoided everything about that, so
yep. I just kind of I started the book after I read Mayakashi.
Oh, nice.
So I was like deep in Higurashi, and I was just like, okay, what if we just go for it?
Specifically that one for the mindset it puts you in. Definitely a little intimidating.
Yeah.
What if we just go for it? And I think I've also built up a reputation for being like kind of, I don't know, sadistic storytelling wise. I've had a couple times where friends were like, John likes messed up shit, and I'm like, no, I just like stories.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the thing. It's just like, I know that we have a rapport around here that like, oh man, John likes fucked up things, ha ha ha. And it's like, no, look, like we're his friends. We can make that joke, and we know it's coming from a fun place. And I think that sometimes
sounds familiar, Polly.
I think that rapport comes. I think that rapport gets misinterpreted sometimes. It's like, but John's not a fucking weirdo.
No, I just like stories, and I think that the ways that Wayward like is really biting and mean are gonna be kind of are probably expected.
Yeah.
But I think the ways that it's also very, 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 very sweet will probably be less so, and I'm very proud of those parts in particular because I think it represents sort of me stretching a bit on the kinds of stories I have the capacity to tell.
Yeah.
At least without the help of a super rad co-author.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right, that's it. I'm really pleased with these. I feel like Her Lullaby and Afterward, like, were these two really cool stories I'm extremely proud of, and then they came together to make something that was like basically had the emotional scope of like the kinds of stuff we regularly put on our naughty list, basically.
Yeah. I like reading through the novel myself. I came through it like a lot of that came through for me. So like and I had a lot of those similar feelings.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel here. Is like I think Facets and Wayward are both like smaller stories on their own, and then they kind of come together to create something like very ambitious and cool. Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm very pleased. Thanks, Gil. Thanks for letting me. Thanks for inviting me to babble more.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to hear you babble, John.
Well, that's good, because we've done a lot of that in this podcast.
So now that we know where the internet can find John Thayer on July 23rd, where can we find Rhett?
Crunchyroll.com/Symphogear. It's poly-approved now.
It's poly-approved now. Yeah, we got 2 out of 3. It is almost. Almost.
I'm not holding out.
You're not holding out. He's not getting his hope up on this one.
The Heavens Feel Betrayal is still too fresh.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. Yeah. Oh, okay. And we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, remember to brush your teeth. That's a good thing to do. I can't do that with the top ones right now. It'll be fine in a few weeks. Hey, we got probably one more episode of me sounding like your grandma. But don't worry. We'll get things fixed up sooner or later. Hopefully it wasn't too annoying for your ears. One can still be a little self-conscious about these things, it turns out. But we made it through, and nobody got shot. So thanks again for coming out. We love you all very much. And remember, we are the podcast that loved you. We're the only ones that love you. Intonation. Bringing a joke full circle there. Come on. I'm a genius.
Perfect. You are, of course, a genius.
All right, everybody. I am going to send you over to Retro Games Live. They are putting the finishing touches on Turbo Fest. They have been playing TurboGrafx games all weekend. And if you've missed it, well, you're about ready to catch the end of it, because they got some good shit coming up at the end. I know they're doing a Bonk Trilogy relay race at the end, so that might be a fun watch. So we're going to send you all on over there, so take it easy, and we will catch you in a couple weeks. Much love, everybody. Take it easy. Peace.